Check it on his stick.
All right, welcome in everybody to really our second episode of the show, Off the Shelf, where we're just kind of shooting the shit and talking about whatever. And today we have some very special guests with us. The one, the only, the three of them, the Holy Goofs. In no particular order, except alphabetically, you got Brett, Josh, and Spence, who have all been able to join us here, and we're just going to talk about things.
Yeah. Shoot the breeze.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for being here.
We're very happy to be here.
It's exciting.
Appreciate the invitation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you were willing to join us for this. It is brand new that we've kind of started it, and the first one was quite literally just our friend D-Pad, who stayed a week with us down in Dallas, and I was just like, you know what? Hey, I want to kind of do like a more generic kind of podcasty thing where we just talk about whatever. So sit down. We're gonna just film something for like an hour.
He was forced against his will.
Yeah, I don't think there was plans until that day.
No.
Anyway, so we might as well just kind of jump into it. I've watched you guys on some other, like Lady Robsey's episode with Spence and Josh, where you guys talked with her for a while and went over a bunch of stuff, and I've heard some of these answers before, but we're going to get some of the generic questions out of the way, get to know you a little bit, all that good stuff. So, whoever wants to take it, who are the Holy Goofs? Not all at once, though.
First, do you have our name on the clipboard back there?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Oh my god. Wait, on the slate?
That's not a clipboard.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
a
yeah,
slate.
we gotta
sir.
start. There we go. Although I did put Thursday at 7:30 p.m. because I'm pretty sure that's the time you usually stream.
Yeah.
It's estimated at least though, but 5-star rating.
Yeah.
5 stars.
That's
Very
awesome.
cool.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
That's
So who's the first AD? Which one of us is screaming quiet on the set?
Quite on the
Oh
set.
yeah.
Very cool.
That makes sense.
Who are we,
wow.
guys?
Yeah, who are we?
Who are we?
Well, we are a Christian youth camp for troubled teens.
Yeah. Yeah. We are a collection of youth pastors, just trying to bring the name of Terry Tower to the entire land.
That's right.
I'll do you one better. We are a collection of friars, and we are here to help the one and only Robin Hood restore balance and give the money back to the people.
Oh, that's much cooler. That's much
See, we're 15th century monks.
cooler. No.
No.
We're just three dudes who decided to start a website in 2020. Website that was a collection of just our thought processes at the time about movies, et cetera, pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
And we just wanted to provide a spot, not just for us to get our creative juices out, but like we thought it would be a place for other people to also contribute, and whether that be writing articles or recording videos. Ultimately, we just wanted to have like a site that publish people and shout out creators, and then it just started forming other things. It just started molding into other things. We started Twitch streaming after doing YouTube videos that we thought, let's get on Twitch and see if we can cut videos from there. And then we became a community on Twitch, which was
awesome.
amazing. And now we're just doing everything. I don't know, guys.
So
What
great.
am I saying the right words? I don't know.
We're just. Oh, you can't hear me?
No, I got
No,
you.
we can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay. Yeah, we're just I don't know, we're just three guys who like watching movies and TV and reading books, and we like music, and we like everyone else, we figured, well, we deserve to have microphones put in front of us.
Why
So
not?
we all bought microphones, and then we just talk publicly online about the things we like all the time. But none of it's that serious, We're just goofing around, having a good time. Yeah, I don't think we have any core tenets or beliefs. I don't think we have a creed or anything like that.
Yeah, we thought everyone should hear our thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
everyone should hear what we have to say because
Yeah.
it's important.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's also important to give other people a platform to share their thoughts too, which I think personally to me was a big part of what made Holy Goof so special, and that is like our Mad One section on the website, and our recurring guests on the Twitch and so forth. Like we really wanted a platform not only where we could spout our own bullshit,
Right.
but where other people could come on and spout their stuff and have a place where they can offer the world their art and their visual style and stuff, a platform to launch themselves off of. And I think that's a really awesome thing to add and to have available for people. And I think that was a big tenet of like what I loved about this project, at least in the very beginning. It was like it was one of the hugest things, and we're still doing it, and we're still having guests on. And even though we expand into the Twitch and other apps and developments and stuff like that, still go to the website and like check out all our Mad Ones. We have them up there, and there's some fantastic artists up there.
That's so cool.
Holygoofs.com. Yeah, Mad Ones. Mad Ones is a section of the website where we were highlighting just creators. We're doing it monthly or sporadically, monthly at a time. But it was like we're just pick a creator out of kind of any field. We had artists, we had musicians, designers, things like that, and we highlighted them, put them on like a whole section of the website, their own page essentially. And it was
That's
just
so
part
awesome.
of our, I guess, creed to highlight creators. And, it still is. A little bit less productivity on the website right now, but we're definitely going to ramp up.
Okay, so I've been to the website a few times, especially whenever I first kind of found you guys. I've said this before. I don't. Some people are able to remember the exact thing that it was where they found you, which is kind of wild to me. All I know is I'm pretty sure it was through Instagram somewhere. I don't remember if it was a video or like a generic post about a movie or something, but I followed that, and then you had your post of like, hey, we're on Twitch, and I was like, oh, they do Twitch. Okay, cool. I'll check that out. And then went from there, and then went to the website and all that sort of stuff, and the YouTube and everything from there. But okay, I've heard this before, and I'm illiterate, so I don't know how to read. But the Holy Goofs name comes from a character or a description of a character in some book that you really like, Spence. What is that? I've heard it many times. I can't for the life of me remember because it's all words I've never heard in my life before.
Yeah, no, it's from On the Road, and I knew this would come up. So
No way.
Look
I
at
have no
that.
problem. It's from
Prepared.
Kerouac. It's
He's
On
stealing
the
your
Road.
stick, Brett.
Yeah. No, it's a description. It's a phrase to describe Dean Moriarty in the book On the Road by Jack Kerouac, and I just liked the description, and I brought it up to Josh years ago, and I said this should be something, and then he drew a logo, and it became this, and nothing really beyond that. It just happens to somehow perfectly describe the brand that we do, and
Yeah.
just happens to be a Jack Kerouac term.
I
Yeah, I
love that.
think we really resonated with like the whole beatnik culture and everything, the whole like beat poet thing. Just the idea of like sitting around in cafes, like smoking cigarettes and reading poetry to each other, and having angry takes about whatever mass media stuff is coming out. And we're like, yeah, that's what we want to do. So that's kind of driven our whole aesthetic and branding.
Now
My whole college identity
Is-
carried on.
is the logo design still what you use currently, or has that updated?
That's updated. The original one, we have it somewhere. But yeah, it was similar. It was an H and a G.
It was very close.
I want to change it again. I have a disease where I think constantly, like whatever the last thing we did looks horrible, and we need
Just
to,
make sure we
to
don't
update
pull a Pepsi and make a terrible logo after decades of a classic.
Yeah.
Like
it.
we don't want a new Coke situation here.
Yeah. Oh, Brett. I'm definitely gonna do that.
No, don't do it, Josh.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
I think it's perfect.
Yeah, I really like it. I was just curious if how much, if a lot, it had evolved from whatever the original one might have been, because I've only seen obviously what you use currently.
It's pretty close.
Now, all of this started when you were all in college. Is that where you all met, or was it shortly after?
Josh and Spence have known each other for longer than I have. And so then I was out of college when I was brought in. I was getting my master's.
Whoa.
But you guys started this before adding me into the fold.
Really,
Yeah.
I mean, we had the name, and it wasn't in college. It was 2019, 2020. And Josh and I were sort of just hanging out and doing live game shows on Instagram.
Oh, so was the live game show on Instagram before all of this? Because again, when I watched Lady Robsey's thing, I heard about the like, if you can answer this trivia, we'll give you $1 or whatever it was.
Yeah,
That's right, because I remember joining on to like a couple of those at one point, just for shits and giggles.
answer a certain amount of questions in a certain amount of time to win $5 or something.
To win an allotted amount of money. I
To
think.
win a lot of
Yeah.
And
It was very vague, but promises
Very
of money
vague.
were made and kept. We did
Kept.
pay.
Yeah. Wasn't the Holy Goof, it was just us being bored during COVID. And it was fun. And then we brought the logo back and we're like, let's do a website and write things. And then I met Brett in college and I knew he was really passionate about film and just a great like talking head mind for what I wanted to do, what we wanted to do. And he had produced some really great stuff. So I hit him up, and also a screenwriter, great writer. And then and along with our buddy Zach, who's the secret fourth goof,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
we just off and running. Website went up, started making videos, and been doing it ever since.
Where'd y'all go to college?
What college? Geneva College.
Oh yeah.
Geneva.
Spence and I went to a small private Christian school. Where did you go? You were
I went to a different small private Christian school called Regent University in Virginia Beach. But I had met Spence through a mutual friend, a buddy of mine that I had like grown up with in my hometown, and Geneva is like maybe 2 hours away from my hometown. So like Spence would come over and hang out like when my buddy was in town from college and I was back like on a break or something like that. So that's how we ended up meeting. And then when he came to me with all this, he introduced me to Zach and Josh, and yeah, we just all kind of like clicked really well, and it worked out great.
That's so cool.
I wish I had college friends.
Okay.
one. They just have the one.
Yeah.
We can be your college friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surrogate
feel like
college friends.
Yeah.
You know what?
Very
That's our
college
dream.
friends.
We're just college friends. That's
Yeah.
what we're trying to be.
We're all college
Great
friends.
college friends.
In our 30s.
Now, was anything you studied in college towards entertainment related stuff? Film, writing, whatever?
Brett.
Oh,
Brett.
Okay.
Yeah, Brett is actually qualified.
So,
I got my my bachelor's in cinema television, like production and all that stuff. And then I got a minor in like theater acting. And then I got a master's of fine arts for screenwriting. So I am like
That is
an
impressive.
accredited qualified screenwriter, and I'm also accredited to teach at the college level the craft of screenwriting.
Wow.
so are you constantly behind the scenes being like, production wise, you guys should have done this instead?
It's funny, I do actually it's like there are times when I have to almost like turn that side of my brain off, like when I watch something, because it's like, well, there's a lot of factors that like I don't know everything, like I'm sure this or that, but like no, it's absolutely true, and it's why like I mean I end up like liking certain movies almost a little more when I find out that like they had a troubled production history. and stuff. Like the third Aliens, like I watched the like behind the scenes, and I'm like, it's a miracle this movie is like decent. So
It's underrated movie, way overrated.
yeah, for sure. But like, yeah, absolutely. Like there are definitely times when I'm like critiquing something extra harshly or something. And stuff, but then there's also like the fan part of me that's like when I like something, it's like I'll kind of give a lot of grace, and I'll be like, no, but it's just I love this, you know.
I love that.
Certainly explains the Godzilla Kong take.
I got my bachelor's in communications, so none of that.
Same.
Yeah, I dropped out, but I was a communications major also with a concentration on visual communications because I wanted to paint. But actually, they did teach me like how to use a green screen, and we did like some not mock radio shows. We did like radio shows for the college radio station. So surprisingly, I never thought I'd say this, but I use the little bit I learned in like the 3 semesters I attended all the time.
That's awesome.
And he's been like a fantastic producer for all of the stuff that we've done on Twitch, and when we were like initially recording like the Holy Goof podcast, because that's how the Twitch developed. Is like it started off as this like podcast that we ended up recording and throwing on YouTube and stuff, but then like it was just, I mean, like Josh is doing so much of this like on his own with all of like the different hardware and stuff, and like I know like basic film stuff and like lighting and like that kind of shit, but like when it comes to like the streaming and all the bandwidth stuff and the internet part of it, like no idea. And Josh is just like a fantastic producer, and he's like seriously saved our asses so many times when we're like trying to do a Twitch or something, or like setting up a green screen or something like that. And like, yeah, man, it's dope. You're dope.
This is
That's
too
so
sweet.
awesome.
I'm uncomfortable. Thanks.
Rest in the business.
I went to college for I started off as a music composition major, and then I changed it to communications and broadcast journalism because I wanted to be a sports anchor.
And I graduated high school.
Nice. Okay, Kurt, me too. Let's go.
That's all you really need.
We're high school
That's
graduates.
about it. Almost went to an art school for filmmaking, but then they were like, here's how much it costs, and I went, oh. So, nope.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
You would have done great though.
Honestly, and this is a true story, I learned about as much, if not slightly more, about filmmaking by watching Trey Parker and Matt Stone's commentaries on the episodes of South Park as I did in film school.
Really?
No joke. No joke. Like, they are incredibly knowledgeable, and like even though like in the later like pretty much once you get past like season 5, they get bored with doing commentaries, so they do mini ones, and it only takes up about half the episode. But still, like, and then unfortunately like the past 3 or 4 seasons they just haven't done any. I think they just don't like doing it. But when they did do it, it was incredibly knowledgeable and like incredibly informative. Like they really know their shit. They know their craft.
Yeah.
And they know like how to kind of twist things and stuff. Like, so learning like the differences in like therefore and but, and then like how to link different scenes together. Like they really, honestly, they taught me a lot. So thanks, Trey. Thanks, Matt.
That's fascinating.
That doesn't really surprise me. This was 2008 whenever I was like, maybe I just don't go. And it was also, you know, that's the time when YouTube was really starting to take off, and I was like, there's loads of people who talk about this stuff and know this stuff on there. I could literally just watch and learn anything I might want to know
Absolutely
from there for free.
So true.
Yeah. I mean, a weird side note, fun story. I was friends with people who did go to that school, and in the apartments that the campus had people live on, because it wasn't a campus you could live on the actual campus, but they had like an apartment complex they worked with.
Right.
Some dude beheaded his ex-girlfriend.
Oh my god!
Wild.
So which one of your film school friends made a movie out of that?
I don't know if anybody did, but I just remember one day showing up and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna leave because there's like a lot of shit going on."
Did I know that?
I've told you about that.
Jesus
Well,
Christ.
It was crazy.
I'm so obsessed with true crime that I immediately start going through the Rolodex. I'm like, do I know this one?
Same.
Have I seen a
Same.
I have-
documentary about this?
I have some strange connections too. So there's that one that's just like very tangential of like I've been in that area. I could have maybe seen those people at some point. All the times I was hanging out. Another one I have is and again this was 2007, 2008 something through YouTube. There was a guy who did anime reviews, and I watched a lot of his stuff. And he was also lived in Texas, not super far. I mean, maybe like 5 hours away or something. But he's also into like amateur filmmaking. And I just shot him a message one time, and it's when people use AOL Instant Messenger, AIM.
Yes.
And I became friends with him, and we would chat all the time. And then he murdered his whole family.
Oh.
I do remember
Yep.
that story.
Oh.
No way.
Yep.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. It was a...
Did you guys talk at all after that?
No. No, I don't...
They became
When-
Yeah,
pen
we're
pals.
still pen pals to this
I
day.
don't know. I would probably reach out.
I want to say there was like... It might have been a year and a half or something that we would chat kind of regularly about whatever random shit. And then my laptop broke or something, so I just didn't have a computer, and I was just hanging out with friends doing like real life shit. And then maybe a year or two later, I'm watching some weird true crime shit on YouTube that's like the dark side of YouTubers. This guy, blah blah blah, murdered his whole family, and I went, wait, what?
Oh, that's a crazy way to find out.
Yeah.
It all
YouTube.
started when his best friend ceased contacting him. Wait.
It was a typical day.
It was wild too, because he uploaded videos that were, in hindsight, you're like, oh yeah, okay, because it was just like, it's like, yeah, I took a break for a while, and then he's like filming himself with all these new guns that he bought, going under like underpasses and shooting things, and he's like, something big's coming, and then yeah, it was
Oh, no.
it was wild.
Musicians and mass murderers
There it
can't not interact with social media by being like big things around the corner.
Can we do
Sorry.
a poll on who pronounced it as AIM or
Oh,
AIM?
God. She, for some reason, what do you think people called it?
AIM.
No, that's not what you think, because I say AIM, and you're like, no, we called it something else.
AIM?
Yeah, she always says AIM for AOL Instant Messenger. I was like,
AOL
I-
Instant Messenger.
I was like,
I mean, I
It was Amy.
shorthand,
It's
I
just
think
kinda-
everybody said AIM.
yeah,
might have
I
said
used
AIM.
like all of them at some point.
God, please bring it
Like-
back. What an iconic
Yeah.
way to talk to people. Oh man, I missed that.
AIM.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The little-
it was almost like text messaging, but it would take a long time sometimes.
Yeah, those chat rooms where I met really seedy 40-year-olds.
Yeah.
It's a wild, wild west.
I was just talking to my fiance about like the old dial-up days when you're like a kid and there's like the family computer. So if you wanted to like look at anything saucy, you'd have to wait till like 1 o'clock in the morning, sneak down to the family computer, and then wait 20 minutes for like a 30-second thing to load.
You hear a creak in the
So, you know, like-
floorboard. Shit.
Like no, just like
My parents screwed us because they
Good old days.
they kept the computer with the internet in their bedroom.
Mm.
So we have to go in there.
smart,
So.
smart.
That is smart.
Unfortunate.
So I go over
So,
to my friend's house, and then we go into those AOL chat rooms.
Yep.
Yeah, devious times.
Yeah.
I just found out that the dial-up sound was like actually transmitting information through that sound to a receiver that received a microphone essentially that received that sound. So that dial-up sound is like actually the connection happening
Mhm.
Oh,
through sound.
Really?
That blew my mind.
very interesting.
Yeah, it's like the waveform or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
I had,
Too
yeah,
dumb
I've
to
never heard of
actually
that.
explain it good, but it fascinating. Fascinating stuff.
That's how I feel sometimes. I can't really explain this, but it's great. Just believe me.
Yeah, trust me, it's cool.
That's what I feel like. Okay.
Because it's like essentially a phone line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's just like that's if you were to listen to it, that's what it sounds like.
Hell yeah,
Right.
Brad. I knew
Essentially.
you weren't gonna leave me hanging here, dude. Yeah. Guys, look, we're here to talk.
trying to
about
help you,
dial-up.
man.
I was gonna. Yeah. We're actually here to discuss dial-up.
So about dial-up.
Yeah. Oh, the good old days.
Yeah, the good old days. Okay, so we're not filming this too long from Josh's most recent birthday, so happy belated birthday. You're now a nice aged 32.
You baby.
Yeah.
Aging like a fine wine.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the first birthday where I all year couldn't remember what age I was turning. You know what I mean?
Oh, it gets worse.
Yeah.
Now,
Every couple
The
of-
closer you get, it gets
every
worse.
couple of weeks, I have to
It gets
ask
worse.
Stacy, like, what? How old am I? Because I can't remember.
I feel like I have it easy because it was 90, so I can just always, how many,
Right.
you just add like an extra number to it or whatever. You always know exactly what it is. My mother, however, does not know how old I am.
No.
I don't remember when it was, but one time for my birthday, she just straight up was like, "How old are you again?" I was like, "Oh, okay, thanks."
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
You're also a baby.
Yeah. She likes to think that she's a cougar because she's 2 years older than I am.
Cradle robber.
How old are you?
I'm 34. She's
Inappropriate.
I'm
Inappropriate
36.
to ask
Oh yeah,
John.
right.
I'll be
Sorry.
37.
Sorry, I'm bad at that stuff.
She doesn't care.
Forgetting this besides.
Wait, how old are y'all?
I'm 32.
I'll be 33 this year.
they're all young.
Oh no! Oh, I'm the oldest. Oh.
I feel so old.
Yeah.
I think I'm the oldest goof. Am I?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, we're both young for our when it was
for our age.
grade.
We're both young.
That's
but-
right. Yeah, you were young for your grade
We
because
started
you guys were a
college.
year. You were a year below me.
We started
Okay.
college at like just 17.
Yeah, like 16 into 17.
Yeah, we couldn't
Wow.
smoke cigarettes. It was a thing.
Yeah, I had to buy us cigarettes. It was a hassle.
It was sucked.
Such a hassle.
I mean, just think how good you had it though before they increased the age.
That's
they
true.
did, didn't
now
they?
It's, now it's 21. Yeah, that's crazy.
Is it
Yeah.
really 21 now?
Yeah,
Officially.
has been for a couple years.
What?
I've not been paying
Oh,
attention.
Wow.
Not something I pay attention to. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
think I would have known
I quit
that if.
smoking about 8 years ago. I quit smoking cigarettes.
Oh, it's been 9 years for me, I think.
Nice.
I was smoking them like they were going out of style.
Yeah.
But I also worked
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
ships,
I was
and they were really cheap.
Like 2 years.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, interesting.
Her excuse is working on a cruise ship and just being miserable. Have you ever heard about the?
Perfectly fine excuse.
Should I say? Maybe I think it's a fun story.
Uh-oh.
You want to know
Tread
about the
carefully.
time Maggie murdered someone?
Yes.
Sure.
Wait.
I love saying it that I love saying it that way because it's not it's not really her fault, but you know, a domino effect type of thing. She was like what were you, the head safety person? She's like the head safety person on a ship, and some person complained to her that an elevator or something wasn't working. So she radioed to get somebody to go fix it. And and you may have even heard of this news story because it was a pretty big news story when it
It
happened.
was national news.
But this guy goes to fix the elevator, so he's on top of the elevator doing whatever, and I guess did not cut power to the elevator and ended up getting crushed. And people were inside the elevator, and it was like raining blood down on top of them.
God,
You got
that's
Mission
another
Impossible.
horror movie.
It's on
Come up with
YouTube.
2 movies so far.
Yeah.
during the-
And you can find the news stories on like YouTube and stuff of people talking about it. But she originally thought the person she radioed, who she was friends with, was the one who went to fix it. But he had some other like younger dude go do it.
Good for him.
And the dude just forgot to turn it off.
I mean, I'm
Was it-
assuming that must have been the case because how else would that situation end up happening if you didn't turn off power first?
Yeah, and why would you work on something like an elevator without turning off the power?
You were also supposed to have like a someone with you. You weren't supposed to do it alone, and he went alone.
Ooh.
So
Yeah.
I thought that it was my friend.
That's very traumatic, and I don't mean to take it lightly, but was it like Mission Impossible? Was he on top of the elevator?
I believe
think
so.
So I think he was leaned into it. and it just
No.
it was horrifying.
Way to ruin it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and then a bunch of people.
See, but the thing you don't know about cruises is somebody dies on like every single cruise.
Every cruise.
Yes.
Maybe not that horrifically, but something always happens.
Yeah.
So the
you know, Carnival. Ooh,
Never.
I fucking hate that I taught you that.
I find it hilarious.
So
That's wild.
there was a foreign exchange student in the elevator who he was from Japan. He didn't speak any English, and he was so confused, and all I could do was bring him Xanax to his room, and then he got off like at the next port.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
Wow.
That's wild.
that's a
That's
story.
so crazy. Also, like, again, very traumatic, but guaranteed he still tells that story all the time.
Oh, for sure.
That
That's been his
He gets
personality.
sympathy points. He gets
Yeah,
sympathy
yeah.
points for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Death by elevator. Oof. Not in my top 10 weeks ago.
No.
No.
So I'm
Terrible.
a little bit weirded out by elevators now.
Yeah, she definitely
Yeah.
doesn't like when I jump in them.
Nope.
Yeah.
I will fucking
Fair.
punch the shit
That's
out of
fair.
you if you do that.
Oh god. I have a good time.
I took the stairs for like 4 weeks after that. My legs got ripped. I was in great shape after that.
Crazy. Anybody have other crazy stories about tangentially being related to death?
Death, blood pouring out of a elevator.
No, but I did stay at this hotel once, and a ton of blood poured out of an elevator. And there were these two little girls.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
Yeah, yeah.
like similar.
amazing carpet.
No, I have not. That's like. Oh my god.
I've known what feels like I've come into contact with and met what feels like a disproportionate amount of schizophrenic people in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the closest I can relate. It's like every like 5 years or so, I'll know somebody and then something will happen and then it's like, oh, you're schizophrenic. Got it. Sweet people. Big fan.
Kind,
I don't
nice,
know.
but schizophrenic.
This is me crossing the divide. This is me trying to relate. I don't know. I'm not
I appreciate it.
Schizophrenia, so.
All right, that's fine. Okay, we can move on from all this death and destruction into something a little bit happier, I suppose. We'll start off easy. We got a handful of topics here that we can kind of chat about, and I figure we might as well start off with something easy. Maybe bring some happiness,
Yeah.
levity to this whole thing.
Let's bring it
How
up a
about
little.
childhood favorites? What is a childhood favorite film? I'll go first. Mine, and even to this day, my mother still buys me Christmas ornaments of this. She sends me things of this all the time. But I've probably... This might be my most watched movie ever. It definitely cemented my love for stop motion. And that's Tim Burton's A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, classic.
Easily one of my favorite movies ever. I have not watched it in a long time, but like I said, my mother constantly is sending me Christmas ornaments and other random knickknacks for it. We even have glasses up there that are from the movie.
Nice.
But there was a time where I could have recited that entire movie from memory.
Our Christmas
Is
tree
it a
is
Christmas
black,
movie?
Yes,
and
Is it-
all of the ornaments.
it's both. It's a
It's both.
Nightmare Before
So I got
Christmas.
the 4K
Yeah.
of it recently.
Yep. Black Christmas
Beautiful.
tree.
What's
All
another
dark
movie that could be considered
ornaments.
as both a Halloween and Christmas movie, aside from that one?
It's only one, right?
Halloween and Christmas. Well, there's Krampus is a new one.
I love Krampus.
Krampus is a classic.
certainly any horror related movies probably. There was a Shudder original from last year, I think, called what was it? Bloody Christmas, Bloody or Christmas Bloody Christmas, something like that. It's about a robotic Santa Claus that just starts murdering people, and I loved it. It
Nice.
goes
So
on
good.
way too long and has about 3 different endings where you're just like, you guys should have stopped it 10 minutes ago. But
So good.
outside of that, great. Loved it.
It's awesome. There's also, Silent Night and Silent Night 2.
Love it.
Garbage Day! Yeah.
And
That was
the original
crazy.
Black
Y'all both
Christmas.
did that at the same time?
I mean,
That's
that's a
crazy.
classic scene.
Yeah,
You
man.
were-
Come
you
on,
guys were
Josh. Get with it.
locked in.
Get with the zeitgeist. Bro. No, and then Black Christmas is like a classic.
And only the original, none of the remakes. No, none of the remakes.
Absolutely. No, yes, absolutely.
Original.
Only the original, yes.
Oh god, that new one. It's PTSD.
I didn't
It's
even
so
see
bad.
the new one. I
It's
remember
so
the one
bad.
from like 2004 or whatever, but did not see the newest one that came out like 2 years ago.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Pass.
So what do you got? What's your favorite Christmas movie? Favorite childhood movie?
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park. Yep.
Yes.
I still remember that day going to the theater. I remember the scene when the T-Rex gets the lawyer out of the toilet, and
Mm-hmm.
I told my late brother Mark, let me know when it's not scary anymore. So he put his hand over my eyes, but then he took him away right when he got the guy off the toilet. I was like, you son of a bitch.
That's fantastic.
But it's gone on
I have
to
a-
be like my all-time favorite comfort movie. So
It's yeah.
I always watch it.
I have a similar like kind
Thank
of
you.
like
That's so much
story
better.
with Jurassic Park, because like that was another one of my big favorites and everything when I was a kid. And but the scene where the T-Rex first escaped always scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
But I loved every other part of that movie so much.
Right.
So I like literally had it timed out. Where so I would walk out of the room, I'd keep the movie playing,
No.
and then I'd walk out and I'd like count on my fingers, and then it'd be like, all right, it's done. And then
I
I'd
know,
walk right
man.
back in and just keep watching the movie.
I love that. I can never not watch it enough. I like all these years I will
Yeah.
always watch it. It's such a comfort movie. If there's like a night that I'm having a bad day or something, I will watch Jurassic Park, like the original one. It's just I love it. And to this day, my dream car is a Jeep. It's gonna look like a Jurassic Park Jeep.
It's awesome.
Nice.
Just don't get her started on the terrible Fallen Kingdom or because
Fallen Kingdom was the worst one.
I agree. She doesn't agree. Only because that one scene on the
You
docks.
lost
That's like
points
the
with me.
only thing. I can't.
That-
That movie's so bad.
That movie, I won't go into it, but the scene on the docks upsets me. It upsets me.
It's
Not because I'm sad. It upsets me because it makes me angry because it makes no logical sense. But like it's like I think that
guess I
movie
agree.
is like it's a shame because I actually like love that director.
Yeah.
And he did The Orphanage, which was like one of the best like modern horror movies. It's a Spanish horror movie. It's like one of the saddest like horror movies I've ever seen.
Ooh, I don't think I've
It's
seen that.
so good. And like I think the directing is solid in that movie, but he was just stuck with a really, really bad script. And it's just
That's
a
fair.
shame. And I think it's also because at the time Colin Trevorrow had left Jurassic Park and that's when he was working on his version of episode 9 of Star Wars. So
Oh.
I have a feeling that he kind of like didn't pay as much attention to that movie's script because he's like, well, I'm working on Star Wars. I'm going to let my writing partners handle this movie's script.
That's fair.
And then,
And it worked out so well.
That's fair.
Nailed it.
Anywho,
Nailed it.
All right, who's up? Who's got a childhood favorite?
Just run in order. Go ahead, bro.
all right. Well, Jurassic Park was a big one, you know. Oddly, What About Bob was a big one for me when I was a kid with Bill Murray. Because that one summer we stayed at this people's like guest home, and it was the only movie they had on VHS. So I watched it like on rerun, and then my parents were like, "I think that's his favorite movie." But I will say, for my like actual choice of favorite childhood movie, it's the movie that I still to this day know the entire movie by heart, and that is Ron Howard's version of Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey. And like, I don't even care if you utter so much as one syllable, I'll shoot down and got you like a fish. Because that movie's a classic, okay? Like, I just, no, seriously, like,
so
I loved
great.
Jim Carrey as a child. When I was a kid, I wanted to be like the next Jim Carrey. And like, I genuinely, to this day, think that movie is absolutely hysterical.
It's great.
And it's just, yeah, I'll watch it on repeat. Every Christmas we watch it, and Lee loves the fact that I just, like, quote the whole thing while we watch it.
Such a good movie. I remember seeing that in theater. It was so great.
I don't know if I saw that in theater.
No?
I don't know.
He was
I
so
don't remember.
perfect for it.
Yes, Jim Carrey was a perfect
Perfect.
casting
Yeah,
for the
it was
Grinch.
fantastic.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Just the rest of the movie
So
is kind of like
There's some weird stuff in there. There's some
very
weird
strange
stuff in
things
there. Like, at this point, I'm, like, fully embracing of it. I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
God, this is odd. But, like, the whole bit with, like, him in the mailroom, like, just everything surrounding him is genius in that movie.
Yeah.
definitely agree on that part.
Also,
I relate
Max.
too much to the I'm booked. I can't self-loathing
Yep.
at 7. I just can't.
It's so good. It's so good.
My dog is named after. his
That is
dog,
true.
Max.
Oh,
Max
I
is
see.
named after Max.
Max.
Fetch me my sedative, Max.
Max is named after the Grinch's Max.
That's wonderful.
Good choice.
All right, Josh, what's your favorite childhood movie?
Oh, so at first I thought like real like kids movies like I loved like Aladdin, stuff like that. They were just on, the Disney animated stuff was on the loop. But then I remembered like I in my head I remember being like grown going to see this movie because I went with my friends, no parents. We went to the midnight screening. That was Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring. But I was like
Oh.
9. I don't know. I was like a baby. You know what I mean? In my head, I was like very grown, but
Right.
I wasn't. And that, I was obsessed with the books before that, and then they made these sick movies, and I bought the trading card games and the chess set and the Monopoly board and the Risk. There's a Risk Lord of the Rings at
Everything.
Really?
Hell yeah.
Everything. It was just like such an obsession. It informed everything about my personality. It was all Lord of the Rings all the time. So I probably have to go with Fellowship of the Ring. Other shout outs though, like from that same time period, like X-Men, the first X-Men was huge for me. I just watched it on repeat. I just loved it. Also there's a weird hacker movie called Sneakers. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but that was something I just like obsessively watched. I just really latched onto it. I don't know, I had like some favorites that I would just keep going back to. And that's not a sign of anything going on internally with me. That's normal, and that's what normal people do.
Yeah.
Of
course.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I would have to say if there's a number one, it's no contest. It's Fellowship of the Ring. That just
Hell yeah.
it broke my life when it came out.
I remember getting the Fellowship of the Ring soundtrack, and that was the thing that I would listen to when I was studying.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
because it
Yes.
was such a great soundtrack.
You
Those
studied?
thick jewel cases.
No,
Yes.
then I don't.
I did that with the Two Towers soundtrack. It was the first CD soundtrack of like a movie I ever bought.
Yeah.
I bet Fellowship was my first movie soundtrack for sure. Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was
So
an
good.
easy thing to listen to. I would just put it on, and it was one of those things like I would like put the disc into my like PC thing,
Disc
and
tray?
the
Yep.
disc thing, and then put it in, and then I would study at my little computer desk, and it would just play from there.
You know what? You're making me realize that I did the same thing, and
Yeah?
like, still to this day, when I need to really focus up on work, I just search Hans Zimmer and just like
Yeah.
listen to Hans Zimmer rap. Yeah, and I'm realizing that's why. It's because of the Lord of the Rings soundtrack.
That's why.
That's
makes
awesome.
makes you focus.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
I remember the first time I watched Fellowship, I actually didn't see the first one in theaters. I didn't get around to it, but I saw it at a friend's house, and he had like the two VHSs,
Yeah.
and And I remember, like, we started it in the morning after we had woken up, and, like, we got about halfway through, we got to, like, after Gandalf sacrifices himself, and they're about to go to, you know, meet Galadriel and stuff, and then, like, my mom came, and, like, I had to go. And I was like, oh, no, I don't want to leave. You know, my friend was like, don't worry, like, it's almost over. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I found out, like, later that was, like, halfway through the movie.
You still got like 18 hours left.
Yeah.
I was like, I missed so much!
I have this weird, like, Mandela effect with Fellowship of the Ring. And it specifically has to do with when Boromir's dying. And he's protecting the hobbits. I swear that in the theater, when I first saw that, that just kind of the way that it goes when he gets hit by the arrows, that there's more to the scene of him, like, breaking off the arrows and getting hit by like 3 or like other volleys of arrows, and just like
he's
he
much
keeps
more
kind
of a
of moving
badass
forward.
memory.
Yeah, in my brain, he was just so much cooler in that moment to protect them. And then I'd go back and watch it and I go, oh, so why do I think that he did all these like extra things? I don't know what it is.
Because when you're a kid and you see it, everything's crazier than it really is.
Exactly what it
That's
was.
Ned Stark,
Connect
right?
with that somehow,
That's Ned
though.
Stark,
I feel
right?
like- yeah, I connect with that somehow. I feel like
No, me too.
I feel like he did do more.
Yeah, I just rewatched it like a couple weeks ago, and literally that scene, I was like, "This is not how I remember."
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And I've seen it like hundreds.
I think
of
it's
times.
just like Brett said, it's the heroic sacrifice that it feels like there was more to it, and then you watch it back and you're like, oh, maybe not.
I have a
He
really
does eat a lot of those arrows before.
He does.
You know,
Yeah.
an unreasonable amount of just thick Uruk arrows. Yeah.
It's also the music too. It's
Yeah.
just so like,
Yeah, just named it as one of my favorite movie deaths of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a very irrational thought process whenever I have an inconvenience, like if I drop something or I stub my toe or I get my jeans pant loop caught on like a doorknob. I think that it's karma because Sean Bean's name isn't pronounced the way that it's spelled. It's supposed to be Sheen Bean, and I blame him for that. So
That is on him. That is on
Dare you.
CD.
I'm glad I got that off my chest.
I had a friend in middle school whose name was Sean, spelt that way, and I did not learn that it was spelt that way until years into our friendship when I went to write his name and I was like SHA, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Is that not your name?" He's like, "No, it's the," and I was like, "Oh, okay."
There's no reason why his name shouldn't be pronounced the way that it's spelled.
So here's the question though: is it Sean Bon or Scene
Or Scene
Bean?
Bean. Exactly.
Right.
It's what keeps me up at night.
Yeah. Now me too. Thanks.
She
Taking
brings
everyone
these
down
up
with
every
me.
time.
Every
We
night. Is it
Every night.
in January when I went through all the James Bond movies and I got to GoldenEye, she wanted to watch GoldenEye because that's her favorite one, and then she's like, "Oh, isn't that Sean Bean?" And I was like, "Yeah," and she's like, should be Sheen Bean."
Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense.
All right, Spence, what do you got for us?
This is a tough one. It's you always feel like you can't pick one, and you just got to pick which one you want to shout out the most. But I'm just gonna pick them all.
There you go.
Obviously, Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and Sorcerer's Stone changed my life. It was, something you read the books and then you see something on screen after that, after loving the content for so long.
So you were a book reader first and then saw the movie?
Absolutely.
So you were hyped for it.
Nice.
I'd never heard of Harry Potter in my life until we saw that movie. And then my parents were like, "We should read the books now." And we tried to, and I went, No.
I feel that. I mean, the movies are good. I wore that DVD out. I went to sleep with it for years after it came out, the special edition one of Sorcerer's Stone. And then, like, things like James and the Giant Peach.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
One for me growing up.
They never did catch that rhino.
My name is James.
That movie
Love that.
is so like unique. It is like a very memorable like visual kind of
Oh yeah.
film.
It's really good.
It's really interesting.
But I'm not gonna lie, it
Also
kind of
the
scared
live
me.
action and the material of the design of what they did there was really good.
Yep.
Matilda was huge for me.
Matilda.
One of those ones I watched probably every day growing up. And then Ants. Ants was big for me.
Ants, yeah.
Interesting. Ants, not Bug's Life?
It was Ants first for me. I don't know. I watched it so much. I love Ants. It felt like something I shouldn't be watching at the time.
It's the grittier. Yeah. It's the grittier version.
And that is exactly what DreamWorks was going for, is to be like, this isn't your Disney.
Stallone in it.
Yeah.
Was he in that? That was
pretty sure, yeah.
And I think Ants came out first. I'm pretty sure Ants came out.
They came out the same year, but it may have come out first monthly wise. But there's a few of those movies that kind of.
Was it one of those like Lord of the Rings,
rival
Harry
studio
Potter thing? Like they came out the same year, but one came like a couple of months before or after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I was much younger when I was watching Ants than Bugs Life for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I feel like Bugs Life, Ants was like the first thing I saw, and then I saw Bugs Life years later. I don't know why.
Who was Bugs Life? Was that Jerry Seinfeld? Who am I thinking of?
Yeah, they were both 98.
Both 90. Who am I thinking of?
Really, that's crazy.
The main Bugs Life guy?
Woody Allen?
Flick? Woody Allen, I think, is
Woody
in
Allen.
Ants.
No.
Woody Allen is Ants. Woody Allen is Ants. Yeah. Because Bugs Life had it had Kevin Spacey as as Hopper. The grasshopper.
That's right.
And
Hopper's
it had David Hyde Pierce, I believe, as well. And
That makes sense.
Who played Bugs Life?
what's the name of the actor who plays Ray Ramon's brother in?
Oh, that guy.
I always get him and the other dude mixed up because they look the exact same.
He was also in Finding Nemo.
He was.
Is that Kavanaugh or is he the other one?
Vanille's the other one, but they were both in vinyl.
To make it confusing.
It's very confusing.
Yeah. Speaking of DreamWorks and childhood movies, real quick, I feel like I have to mention Prince of Egypt.
Oh, that was such a good movie.
Yeah.
That was a good movie.
His name is Brad Garrett. There we go.
Brad Garrett. That's it.
Brad Garrett. All right. Yes, Prince of Egypt. Fantastic.
So
Incredible
good, that
animation.
soundtrack. Yeah.
And good
animation,
soundtrack.
Yeah. So good.
I think I've only seen that movie once.
There was that was the time when DreamWorks was in their like 2D animation renaissance, because you had that, and then you had Road to El Dorado, and then they did like Chicken Run, and they branded up with Aardman to do the stop motion and all that stuff. Like that was like DreamWorks was like putting out hit after hit.
Was DreamWorks the one that did Atlantis, or no?
That was Disney.
That was Disney.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That one was great too.
That one deserves a live action remake. That would be
a
sick live action remake.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't done it yet.
I know. They just want to remake their good movies.
I was gonna say I don't know that they'll touch any of those 2D animated films, just because that I don't know. I think in their mind that's like kind of a lull in their productivity.
Yeah.
With that and Treasure Planet and whatever.
Yep. I don't think Disney looks too highly on that era, which is a shame. Because they don't need to remake perfect movies.
No.
It would be much better if you took a thing like Atlantis, like Treasure Planet, which is like incredible visually, great concepts, but like maybe like it wasn't quite as good as it could have been, and like then do that. Like that'd be way better, you know?
Yeah, we don't need Lilo and Stitch. We don't need Lilo and Stitch.
That just gave me the chills just thinking about it. I'm not even like a giant Lilo and Stitch person, but I just like it is one of those things that obviously they're just going to take the popular ones because that's going to get butts and seats.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So,
and if you look at their track record for their live action remakes, the best one, Pete's Dragon, because it was based on like a lesser known property and was able to then craft a more original take on it. And it's like, it's a decent movie on its own right. Like, but then you look at all the others and they're just direct remakes, but with like live action, elements, and you're like, this wasn't needed.
What is the live action that they're filming right now? Is it Lilo and Stitch or is it Moana that they're doing?
I think they're doing both.
Oh, both.
because Dwayne Johnson's coming back for Moana.
That's
and they've
good.
announced a couple other casting things for that too. So.
Womp womp. Yep.
I mean, I would assume they're probably going to use the same songs.
Yeah,
But they'll add one or two new originals that won't be good like they did. They've done that with all of the movies. Mostly they're the same things, but then they add one or two. The only one that I think's actually like very successful with that is the Aladdin one, because the Jasmine's original song in that, Jasmine's actually a character in this movie now. She has agency. She has like things that she wants to accomplish instead of just being like, oh gosh, I don't want to marry, and then hey, you're kind of hot. No, yeah, I think Aladdin is a successful live action remake. Yeah, Will Smith. Look, nobody's ever going to live up to Robin Williams, but Will Smith did fine enough as Genie. They have some interesting new side characters. Jasmine has like a little servant lady who's kind of fun. Her and Genie have a little like romance kind of subplot, and then Jasmine is actually a character and has an original song that's not bad. The movie's still the same thing, but it worked fine enough. It's definitely one of their better attempts at doing it. Look, Lion King's still their worst one. Lion King was awful.
I didn't mind Jungle Book. I thought Jungle Book was a halfway decent
Jungle Book
it wasn't
bad.
like amazing, but like it wasn't bad. I was like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, you know.
Yeah. I like Jungle Book. What about the Cinderella movie?
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
I
The
like
2015 Cinderella.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Kenneth Branagh one.
Yeah. I thought that wasn't bad.
All I know is Rob Stark's in that movie.
Yes, he is.
I think he plays
And
Prince,
Helena,
whatever his name is.
Helena, Mrs. Burton.
Helena Bonham Carter? Oh, is she the fairy godmother?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I did know that.
Wow, that's against type.
Right?
Interesting.
I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah. I love that during all of that, somehow stop motion got brought up multiple times, because I do, outside of Nightmare Before Christmas, which is almost certainly the first stop motion thing that I ever saw and loved, but I do love Wallace and Gromit, which then eventually becomes Chicken Run and all that stuff. I love their work. Yep. She hates it, but
really?
I don't remember what it was. It was a couple months ago. I must have said something about the moon being made of cheese, and she's like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, you don't." I was like, "We forgot."
Cheese Gromit.
Cheese Gromit. Cheese.
Fuck it.
So is it just like the look, the style of stop motion in and of itself? You're not like a big fan of? Okay.
Yeah, it fucking freaks me out. It's fucking weird.
Which is why I did not have her watch Phil Tippett's Mad God from a few years ago.
God, that movie's fucked up. It's
okay,
wild.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, you wouldn't like it. I didn't even particularly like it, but I loved the stop motion and visuals and stuff.
Yeah, it's got a lot going on.
Yeah.
But on the lighter side of stop motion, I'm actually genuinely looking forward to the next Wallace and Gromit movie. I hope it's good.
Curse of the Were-Rabbit was fantastic.
Curse of the Were-Rabbit is a classic. You know, Chicken Run 2 was like a decent sequel. Like it's not going to be as good as the first one, but like it didn't suck. So I was like, okay, this is good. So, you know, I hope that, I would personally want the Wallace and Gromit movie to be a little bit better, but like as long as it's not worse, I'm like, all right, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It just weirds me out. Maybe that's also what it is.
Yeah, so like I haven't seen it as an adult, but as a kid I just didn't.
Yeah. Is Fantastic Mr. Fox stop motion? Because I like that movie.
Yes, that's
I like that movie.
Stop motion movie.
I like that movie.
Also, very, very dry, like
very dry
humor.
Right.
Yeah.
I do like that. Maybe that's my one exception.
I don't think that's your only exception. I feel like there's something we've seen.
I haven't.
She hasn't seen that one. I almost bought it the other day because I saw a steelbook. It is very good.
Or
yeah.
Paranorman.
Paranorman. I've shown her Paranorman. Very good movie.
That first one was nominated, wasn't it?
Kubo and the Two Strings. Yes.
It was, right?
Yeah.
I watched it.
I think a lot of theirs was.
Thing I just watched called The House. Oh no.
The House. Yep, with the 3 different. Yep,
Oh.
we watched that one. It was the. It was a weird one. That's for sure. But it was. At one point, there's like the giant Benjamin Franklin in like a room or whatever the fuck was going on. There's some weird shit in that one.
Wait, when was it made?
2 years ago, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Last year, perhaps. It's relatively new.
Okay, I was thinking of an older movie.
Yeah, it's got it is anthology, but it all focuses on this one building and just weird shit. Like sometimes the people are like animals, and then they're people, and then they're I don't know. It's all over the place.
Well, now what are your thoughts on Coraline? Because that's like a.
Oh, I recently showed her
really,
that.
like, stop motion, but, like, did you like that one?
I had never seen that until was it last year or the year before?
Yeah, I went out and bought it. So
He bought
you
it
can watch
and had me watch it, and I actually did really like that.
That one's like.
I
It's
really
like a
like
kids movie, but it's not a kids movie.
No.
You know, like.
That was dark.
Especially, she hates eyeball stuff, so the button eyes instantly.
Yeah, I love horror movies. I'm obsessed. That's my favorite genre of movies. But I have 2 zero tolerance policies, and they're clowns and eyeballs. And but I liked it. I enjoyed it.
So she'll never watch the Terrifier movies because,
Nope.
You know, Art the Clown is an instant no thanks.
Nope. Hard pass.
He goes way too far.
No, thank you.
Well then, speaking on the like horror angle, have you seen Monster House?
Have you
'Cause
seen
it's
Monster
like
House?
it's like stop motion, but it's not
No.
like it's not traditional. It's like CG stuff, like you did in computers
No.
and stuff.
What?
That one's fun. That's got Steve Buscemi in it.
Yeah.
That was co-written by Dan Harmon.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
That's probably like 2009 or something like that. Maybe even earlier than that. I'm not sure.
There you are.
But yeah.
There it is. Let's see.
A bunch of kids
What?
go into a house that's really like a creature or something.
2006.
2006.
Really?
Yeah. It's just a group of kids dared into like the spooky house in the neighborhood, and then the house is haunted.
It's got a uvula, so it's a lady house. What?
That's right. That's right.
You know what it is?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Oh, can I stream it somewhere?
Probably. I'm sure it might. It's been on Netflix before. I don't know if it currently is or not,
Oh.
but
Yeah, it's
I
a
would
fun
not be surprised.
I will definitely watch that. Wait. Are there eyeballs?
No, I don't think so.
I think so. No.
Clowns?
Don't know. Don't
Okay,
think so.
then I
It's
will
a
watch it.
house. It's just
Yeah,
like a
it's-
haunted house thing. So like the house
I mean,
comes alive and like it makes a mouth out of itself and like,
Yeah,
It's a house.
it's just a house.
It's just a scary house.
I don't think there are clowns in it or eyeball stuff. I don't recall either of those.
I'm very proud of myself for actually enjoying the It movies.
Oh yeah.
I didn't at first.
I love
I
movies.
watched.
She was very against going to see Chapter 2, and I was
I
like,
was.
but you've got to see Chapter 2.
Yeah.
We've got to go see Chapter 2, so...
Well, I spent the first time I saw Chapter 1, I spent the entire movie doing this and like watching it out of like my peripheral. But the second one, I really enjoyed it.
She'll do that a lot when something comes up that she
I do.
doesn't like, and then I'll have to be like, it's over. You can look back at the
Just gonna
screen.
look away.
I've been trying
The
to...
first one. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I was trying to get her to... when I went and saw Late Night with the Devil, and we can get back to that. I was like, do you want to go see this? I'm hearing really good things. It's just like a horror movie, whatever. And she was going to, but then she didn't. And then I saw it, and I was like, well, that movie is awesome. And I was like, but there is an eyeball thing, but I know exactly when it happens, so I can easily warn you, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Yep, right.
And did you get your timing right on it, or did you?
She hasn't watched it. She hasn't watched it yet.
okay. All right.
I've tried to go to I was like, I'll go see it a second time, which is not something I often do in theaters, at least. But it also comes out on Shudder in like 10 days. So
That's right. I was surprised how soon that was going to come up to streaming.
For the
Okay, wait,
record, I love that. I know I said 7, but
I know.
I meant that strongly.
It's a strong 7.
7 is still a good movie.
Yeah.
It's good. It's not
I like
great.
Out of all the movies ever made, you know what I mean? I loved it. It's one of my favorite movies.
Look, we can get to criticism on movies in a minute, because there's I obviously, and this is a whole different debate that we don't really have to get into. There's objectivity versus subjectivity, and movies are an art form, so it's very hard to objectively look at something like that, because you're probably feeling something from it. So most of the time it's going to be completely subjective, whether or not you actually want it to be. It's made you feel something or other, whatever. I've gotten into this debate with people before, and it ended up with me being kicked and blocked from their like servers and stuff. So we don't have to get into the craziness of it. But I've said this before, that when doing a rating, whenever I do a rating for something, I'm more looking at it like, would I buy this day one? Like, when it comes out physically, would I buy it day one? And if it's a like absolutely yes, probably a 5 out of 5 or a 10 out of 10 or whatever. And then there's like, I'd watch it again. I'd maybe watch it every couple years and then probably never see it again, basically.
You know what's funny? That's the rating system that I use on my Letterboxd, which I just got on. Thanks a lot. But Letterboxd, it's like, if I love the movie, it's just an instant 5-star. Which is funny, because that should be the realm where I'm like picky about it, because everyone sees it and everything. But I'm like very generous. I'm like, oh, I love that movie. I don't want to forget about it. It's a 5-star for me. But then in real life or whatever, when I have to rate something, I feel like I have to be like objective. Because my subjective view of something like Late Night with the Devil is like, oh yeah, fantastic. On Letterboxd, I'd give it a 5-star. I'd be like, yeah, go watch this movie. It rocks. But yeah,
Right.
I think I'd be the same way.
Objective rating.
Yeah. I mean, for me, part of my philosophy with film is like, number one, more than anything, it's there to entertain. It's there to take you out of your current world into somewhere else. And whether you want that time taken away to be like something big and like brash and like spacey, Star Wars, something like that, or you want something intimate, something personal, something that makes you feel emotions, Schindler's List, a drama, more things like that. That's very much in the subjectivity of like, well, what do you want then in that moment to bring it out? But for me, what's most important is like, are you doing those things while keeping me entertained? Am I still paying attention? Am I, or am I just like bored and stuff? And so for me, I try to be, critical about certain things, and I will be like, okay, yeah, this movie has some pretty bad dialogue. It has some this, or this. But like, if it's really entertaining, it's like that definitely like that overcomes certain things, because it's like, if that is the purpose of the film and it does that purpose well, then like pretty much a success.
Right.
And like, even though it may not get everything perfect, like if it does what it's there to do, that helps the film's case and stuff. So there are definitely times where I have to almost give a movie like 2 separate ratings, where I'm like, all right, so like critically, if I actually look at this like from a critical point of view, it has these things that prevent it from being like really great, so it's probably like a 7 or something, like, or a 6. Like, it's good, it's enjoyable, but whatever. But then it's like my personal, it's like, but I personally really enjoy this, so I'll bump it up for myself. But like, if you want to look at it from a critical point of view, sometimes, so there are definitely some ratings on the Holy Goofs, website and stuff, and my Brett's Flicks videos, where like I have like a cheese factor rating, and then I have like an actual critical rating or something. The New Godzilla is a really good example of that, where it's like dialogue and all this stuff, it's bad, it's wacky, it's goofy, but like the whole purpose of it is to be a modern like 60s Godzilla movie.
Right.
And it made me feel like a 6-year-old playing with Godzilla toys, and like that's kind of exactly what it was supposed to do.
Yeah.
So in that regard, like, I enjoy it a lot, but like critically, like, it's gonna be weak. But so it's like, if for me with ratings, it's like really hard to try and find that balance. And sometimes I can find a balance where it's like, I agree that like this rating represents both my personal enjoyment and my critical enjoyment. But then there's other times where like I have to separate it, because I'm like, look, personal taste and then like actual critical review.
That makes sense.
Why during our reviews I try to stay away from like, how was the acting, unless it's like really egregious, I think for the most part, people generally always do a relatively good job. Unless it's standout bad, I don't really care. Unless it takes me out of whatever's happening, then I'm not really going to mention it. It has to be really bad. Like Fallen Kingdom, for example, just to hark on that terrible movie again. Justice Smith in that movie, I cannot stand him in that film.
He's so bad.
I cannot stand him in that movie.
Y'all are all bullies.
I have come around on him. I've definitely come around on him as an actor, but after Fallen Kingdom, and then I'd see him in some other things, I was like, oh dear God, here we go again.
Him.
No, I actually had the same reaction because Fallen Kingdom was one of the first things I saw him in, and it took me a while, and I'm like, oh well, he's not bad in Pokemon, like he's pretty good in Pokemon.
He was great.
Movie. And like but then I was like, when they came out with Dominion, I was like, oh thank God he's only in like 2 scenes, like he's very limited in that one. And I was like, oh, I was happy about that.
He's doing his best.
But I did enjoy him in Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah.
I very rarely notice bad acting unless it's really bad. But then sometimes people will tell me that acting is bad, then I have to go back and look at it and be like, I guess.
Yeah.
I very rarely notice if it's like just subtle.
Look, but that's so that's the whole thing. Is I generally am just trying not to be like overly critical on everything, or else everything would like you'd never have none of my movies that I'd give a 5 out of 5 would be a 5 out of 5. It'd just be like, well, I guess technically this thing is whatever. But for example, I did on TikTok. I've been trying. We haven't done a lot of stuff on TikTok, but I've done this year and last year, or I guess technically last year and the year before that. I put out like, here's my top 10 movies of the year type thing. And when I did that one in January of last year for the 2022 movies, my number one movie of that year is The Northman. Is that the best movie of the year? Probably not, but I loved that movie.
That was in my top 10 as well.
I loved that movie, and I just loved the comments, some of the comments that I got. Like, one guy goes, well, at least these are different. And I was like, I don't know, is that like a dig? Like, you've got bad taste? You just didn't put the, like, everything everywhere all at once like everybody else? Because that wasn't in my top 5. I don't even think that was, or my top 10. I don't even think that was in my top 30. I have to watch it again, and I admit I've got to watch it again, but I was not hot on that movie like everybody else.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I'm with you on Northman. That was like one of my favorites. It would have been my favorite for the year if Everything Everywhere didn't come out. And then Everything Everywhere broke me.
I was absolutely shocked when The Northman wasn't getting as much love as I thought it would.
It came out too early in the year. That's literally all it is.
Big factor sometimes. It really is.
But for me, is a pretty close toss-up. I think Banshees of Inisherin is pretty much a masterpiece. I think that's probably his best movie. So that could easily like swap places for me, like both of those movies. But I just had a blast with The Northman. That's the only reason I'd put it above it. I think Banshees of Inisherin's a better movie. Or even After Sun. Absolutely love After Sun. We might talk about this one a little bit more in a minute. Absolutely love that movie. But I didn't give it a perfect score because I think there's a couple like needle drops in there that are just like way too on the nose. It's like, if you're going to use music to enhance your stuff, make it something that's not just like, this is what you're supposed to be feeling. Like, don't just put in something that's going to just spell it out for me. I don't need hand-holding to understand what the situation is. But I love that movie.
I can't remember what I wanted the best picture to be that year. Because it wasn't...
I don't remember.
Dude,
The Northman was so good.
I've seen it so many times, and I would watch it again today.
I went into that not knowing that the story is what Hamlet was based on, and while I was watching the movie, I was like, this must be it. I think I even said it in our review. I don't think I try not to look up things beforehand and just talk about it. And I was like, the main character's name in this is like Ameth or something, which is Hamlet, but with the H at the end.
Right.
So was this inspired by that, or was this whatever? And then after I was like, no, this is what inspired Hamlet. Okay, that makes so much sense, because throughout the movie, every time they said his name, it was driving me crazy. I was like, so this is just Hamlet then. Okay.
Okay, so 2021, here's what I had for my top 10. 2021. Number 10 was Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.01 Thrice Upon a Time. Number 9 was Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League. Number 8 was Godzilla vs. Kong, just so much fun. 7 was Spider-Man No Way Home. Number 6 was Ghostbusters Afterlife. Number 5 was Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, which I will defend as one of the funniest movies of the past decade.
So great. I love that movie.
Did you?
I did.
Oh, God.
I did not like that
It was
one.
so silly.
I laughed so
loved it.
hard during that movie.
It was supposed to be dumb.
Yes.
The hot dog soup,
It was supposed to be
the
stupid.
culottes. I was just, that movie really cracked me up. Number 4 was James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Number 3 was Dune Part 1. Oh, yes, that's right. Okay. Number 2, I will defend this one. The Matrix Resurrections. And number 1 was No Time to Die. Those were my top 10 of that year.
I mean, we might as well just kick off hot takes now because, my God, those are some spicy takes.
That's right.
Is it?
Yeah, that really
Can I?
As you're going through that, I was like, damn, bro, your mind in 2021 was insane.
I was all over the place, man.
You were.
All over the place.
If we're gonna do our hot takes, can I go first? Because we have to leave for the baby shower soon, and I want to go get ready.
I mean, sure.
I would like to lead with my hot take.
Nice.
I think.
Serve it up.
Ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Dune sucks.
She specifically means Dune 2.
I hate Dune.
Actually,
It's a
maybe both of
dumb
them. I don't
fucking
know.
movie. It's stupid. I hate the soundtrack. Ah. Fuck you, Dune. That's my hot take.
Mic dropped. Mic dropped.
You know, I heard one criticism of Dune recently that it actually connected with me, and it had to do with hotness, where it was like, this is a desert planet, why doesn't it feel hot ever? And I was like, okay, that seems fair, actually. They seem very casual about the amount
No
of
one
heat they're walking
hot.
around all the time.
Everyone's sweating though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't the whole point of their suits to keep them like
Yeah,
moisturized?
Sweating, yeah.
they're constantly hydrated.
Visually, it doesn't.
You want to see more.
You don't see the like waves of like distorting
This
like
isn't
classic
even my
hot.
take. This isn't even my take, but it did resonate. Like, no one's ever just, you know, that out of breath, like you're on the beach all day and you're just like, like no one's ever like that.
Yeah.
I credit that to the Fremen's ability to work the desert, but somebody else should look hot.
I just want to see one person do a cartoon just like, you know?
Right?
Maybe.
I'm sorry. You're trying to convince me that this guy is like a fighter, like a warrior, and he looks like a fucking Victorian child from like... No. Stupid fucking movie.
I think we talked a little bit about this when we had our Dune Twitch, but like, I think my biggest complaint about that movie is I think there are several dramatic moments in Act 3 that don't have the oomph of a dramatic moment that they should. Like when the doors are blown open and Paul just like walks in and just stabs the Baron like it's nothing. And I'm like, what? Why was that so fast? Why didn't you make a meal out of that?
That's perhaps my only criticism with that movie is I didn't feel as hype at the end as I thought I was going to. Like everything leading up to it was hype, and then it just kind of fizzled.
Before you say anything,
Okay.
I would just like also to get it off my chest that everyone's names are some bizarre weird shit that it's like blah 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 and blah 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 and then Paul
And Duncan and his buddy Duncan.
and no one's like, why is your name so different from everyone? My name is Hey Paul.
Because he's so
Stupid.
white.
He's so white. He's a Victorian child Paul. Alright, I'm
Hey,
sorry.
look, I'm with you on Timothy Chalamet.
Thank you.
My biggest complaint with that movie, and I thought it was better than Dune 1. Dune 1, I think the first like hour and a half is really boring because it's a lot of just exposition dumping without really showing us much, and it's rather boring. And then it picked up at the end, and I was like, okay, I'm here. And then it ends, and you're just like, damn, like we were finally getting somewhere, and then you just blue balled me like that. This second movie, I think it's much better all around. However, while I think Austin Butler is fine in the movie, Fade Rotha is the most boring, uninteresting, unthreatening character possible. And I don't know why people think he was like menacing or threatening. When we first see him, the few times he kills people, they're just literally people just standing there not doing anything. He just kills them to kill them. That's not particular, like, ooh, yeah, that's kind of evil, but seen it before. Then when he gets into the Coliseum to fight people, they're drugged. Like, it's not impressive what he's doing, and he almost loses to one of them too.
Yeah, I think that is like that's an intentional subtext of the movie that a lot of people miss. I think just because of the Austin Butler hype, and they were like, he's one of the coolest villains of all time. It's like, no, he's not supposed to be. He's supposed to be like a fail son almost.
Yeah.
Like
yes. He's like, yeah. I think they did a good job of almost making him this like man child, where it's like he is this like the way the Bene Gesserit that is like with him. Like speaks about him, where it's like he's sexually immature. He's acting this way because he's like a child on the inside, like lashing out, like raging. And I think that like that added to like a little bit of like his like he was like slimier and like grosser. He wasn't like a super threatening villain, but he was just like he made me uncomfortable. Like I didn't like you know, it was like I don't. Yeah.
Speaking of uncomfortable, I have my third reason why I hate this movie.
But then he goes on to kick Paul's ass.
Oh God!
Which is why it's like that was surprising to me, because it's like
Paul
he's beating these people drugged. He's cutting people who are not fitting for themselves, and then it goes on.
You got it. You actually got it.
No.
Nice.
Oh my God! On camera too. Crazy. Wow.
What is this? This costs money.
How much did it cost?
I don't remember.
Like
maybe like
$19.99?
No.
$20?
Maybe. I don't know.
We got Lee and I got the Ghost Trap from AMC. It was $40 and it's fucking dope.
Was it?
Okay, it's yours with the light on the bottom and everything.
Yep. And this one was from Afterlife. It was the Echo one.
Okay.
This is inappropriate and it has no business being what it is.
This is a terrible popcorn bucket because it's actually kind of hard to get in and out of this thing. But we learned when we had it just sitting there, we shoved our napkins in here. This would be a dope tissue dispenser because it holds them back, so you're not going to get too many.
Yeah, but explain that to my parents when they come by and they're like, "Do you have a tissue?" Yeah, just grab it out of this weird fucking butthole looking thing.
The single thing that came from the popcorn bucket was a meme I saw, and it was a guy going, "Babe, guess what? Turns out I would love you if you were a worm."
That's pretty good.
He finally answered the question.
I feel like you've asked me that question.
I did ask you that.
Crazy.
You said no.
Yeah, because you're a worm. What do you mean? Oh man. Okay, so where were we with hot takes? That was you. You went first.
Yeah.
Hot takes.
Okay.
Dune fucking sucks, and I hate it, and I never want to watch it again. And now I have a butthole popcorn holder.
Perfect. All right, Josh, what do you got? What's your hot take? Because you've had plenty of hot takes on TikTok. You can you can go.
I got a few of them here. You can just edit it.
Go get ready.
One you think works best,
or
I
say.
guess.
It's been a delight talking to you guys, and I'm sorry. Continue. Goodbye.
Oh.
Okay, bye.
She wants to go get all dressed up and stuff for the baby shower.
Totally understandable.
I'm just gonna go like this. So.
Hell yeah! With the Goku shirt, I love that.
He just drops that and leaves. That's
yeah. I know. And I didn't. The tism almost got me. I was really tempted to defend with lore, and I was like, no, don't do it. That's driving people away from Dune. Don't do it.
well,
You're only gonna make them hate it more. Yeah. See, the reason his name is Paul. Yeah. Okay, so I'll go. I have three here. I know this was hottest take, but I picked three, and this is just in order of hotness, and I'll work up to my hottest one. Fight Club is very adolescent, and like it's great for you when you're a teenage boy, but I think the themes are like a little on the nose and a little immature. Like when you actually grow up and watch it, you're like, oh, it's not as cool as it. I mean, it's a very well shot movie and it's iconic and everything, but the themes are not as deep as you think they are when you're a kid. That's my first one. Second one, I say this all the time. Top Gun Maverick is grossly overrated. If it wasn't for the great action, it's a bad movie. Anything where something isn't happening action wise is just like really poorly put together. The shot composition's bad. The acting is boring. They're just leaning up against cars and planes and stuff, and it's dumb. It feels like a Hallmark movie.
But is it better? Is it better than the original Top Gun?
I don't think so. Because
you're wild.
Benefits from being, it's a product of its time, and I can enjoy it for that. The cheesiness of it works because of when it came out. You know, the volleyball scene, I can accept it. Then when you have a football scene in the modern one, I'm just like, you're just trying to recreate the singing.
That was
like,
the point.
The match of an '80s movie, and you can't. So. Sorry, that's my second hot take. And then my third hottest take is that, or my most hot take, is that the Star Wars prequels are the best trilogy out of the trilogy of trilogies. And I stand by that. Those are the 3 Star Wars movies that I'd rather watch more than any other Star Wars movies, including the originals. I'm sorry. That's
Amen. Amen. Agreed. That's also my hot take.
Look,
come up with an original hot take. You can't just steal Josh's.
No, I have one too, but I agree with that. I'd rather watch the prequels than any other Star Wars.
Look, I don't want to say that in 2022 Top Gun Maverick was my number 9 movie of the year, and I think the first one is a bad movie. I think it just was exponentially better than the original one.
I agree.
I agree that Top Gun 1 is a bad movie, for the record.
Yeah.
But it's a fun, schlocky movie.
I completely agree with you on Fight Club, though. Now, granted, I did not ever see Fight Club until I was an adult. And then I must have been like, I don't know, 20-something. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's fine, I guess.
I will argue that that's actually the point Fincher's trying to make. Is that because Tyler Durden is not a hero. You're not supposed to look up to him. You're not supposed to be like, you're watching a person de-evolve, basically, and think he's doing this like amazing social commentary, like, I'm helping no, you idiot, you're just being an asshole terrorist, basically. Like, I think it's a commentary on how like the male like aggression like centered mind like thinks it's so cool and it's doing all these things, and it's like in reality it's like you're just like a great big man child, like, kind of thing.
Right.
You know,
that's what I'm saying. I think that Bros made that movie bad. Like, not bad, but they ruined the perception of that movie by having the posters. And they wanted to be ripped up like Brad Pitt, and they just didn't get the whole point of what the film was.
Yep.
I think you're right. And Brett, like, I have the Fight Club 2 graphic novels, and like they kind of expand on that a lot more. So like,
interesting.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. That is the real commentary behind it. But when you're younger and you watch it, you latch on to just the aesthetics of it.
Yep.
And then later on, you're like, oh, the aesthetics are dumb. Like, the aesthetics don't actually make sense. Yeah.
I want to fight like that. I want to join it.
Yeah, I want to punch my friends in the face.
Yeah, exactly. That's what people say from that.
Also, we don't really have to get into it too long, but you're crazy about the prequels being the best trilogy out of the... You're wild.
One of my hot takes is, like, in a way, I'm glad you brought that up, Josh, because I got a hot take that's like a reversal of that.
Oh, God, he's going to say the sequels are the best trilogy.
All right. So, Spence, why don't you go? Because I'm gonna end this like lava hot.
Mine are easy and the first one is just a more recency bias. I think that Killers of the Flower Moon was the best movie last year, 2023. I think it's better than Oppenheimer. I think it's better than The Workers. I don't know why I got overlooked. I was thinking about this the other day. It's really good. I think that Scorsese and Leo missed out on that more so because they win everything, and they wanted to switch it up this year.
Leo's only won once. I think so has Scorsese, maybe twice.
Yeah. He wasn't even nominated, though. Usually he's nominated.
I think that movie... Look, now, I said this when we first talked about the movie. is there's kind of two takeaways from that film, which is one thing that I thought I would hear it get dinged a lot more for than I think I actually heard it, is that it's a white man's telling of this awful thing happening. And while man, I'm blanking on her name. While she's fantastic in the role, yeah, Lily Gladstone. While she's great in the role, her role is quite minor in that movie overall, and it comes down to a lot of her just kind of reacting to things. We're not actually seeing like the communities, like what they did or what we're kind of tangentially seeing that because it's about the white people who did this awful thing. And obviously also at the time I realized that, first off, I love the ending to that movie. I love the like weird like recording, almost like a radio show explaining what happened. I loved that. That was unique and interesting, cool. I realized that whatever news reports there were of this stuff happening at the time was probably just this white family murdered these people and got oil or something. And it wasn't really like, let's go talk to the people this actually affected and stuff. And that's why the story is what the story is. But I think that's part of probably what kind of not necessarily sours it in like that it's a bad movie, but sours it a bit to like, it doesn't, to me, it didn't have the emotional impact that I feel like it should have, because it's just like, yeah, we're watching shitty people do shitty things.
I think that's exactly why. I think that's exactly what you said, Josh, immediately after you told me about it. I think that that's the only reason why it wasn't as highly acclaimed as it should have been. Because if you look at it on surface level, it's a beautiful film. It's really well done.
Because I mean, to think
the acting in it, the acting in it's incredible. The cinematography is incredible. The way he told the story was great and unique, like you said. But it's just that one thing. It's like, yeah, it's a white guy telling a story about this tragic thing. That's not going to fly. Which I understand. I think it takes away
because I also love the radio drama, and I in the theater while watching it, I was conflicted when that started. I went, oh, this is so cool. I love the whole mechanism of it. Jack White up there. The whole thing was so cool. And then the conflict entered in where I was like, yeah, but it feels like emotionally I should be caring about this other thing, and this feels so trite compared to that like it kind of lessened the impact of like what was a really cool, quirky, weird, artistic way to kind of finish that out, which I loved. But then in my brain I'm like, yeah, but this isn't how we should end this, you know?
Yeah. Scorsese. I think it's just Scorsese because if you think about it, like how much depth and emotion do you feel?
I appreciate the way they went with it, because I do think alternatively the only way you tell that is through Lily's character the entire time, through her perspective, where she doesn't know that it's her husband and family doing it. So you're seeing these people getting killed and these things happening, and it's kind of more of like a murder mystery kind of at that point of like, what is happening? Why does this keep happening? And then all of a sudden there's the reveal and them going to prison, and then her having like the big emotional climax would be her realizing that it's coming from in her own family basically, and whatever. And that'd be relatively generic kind of stuff, but like I said, I think a lot of it is the story that tells what happened was probably all newspapers and stuff writing it about. Here's this white rich guy who owned a lot of land, and then he got his nephew to marry this family, and then they started killing the family. And that's what was told, and not like, here's this person from this tribe who got tangled up into this by marrying some guy who seemed nice. But I'm kind of I'm with you, Spence. I think that movie is better than, I'm pretty sure it was in my top 10 of the year, but I think it's better than a lot of people gave it credit for.
Mostly, I just think that Leo should have been. I think Leo did a better job in that movie than Cillian Murphy did. I'm sorry.
Great. I agree with that.
I don't think he won Best Actor.
I would have picked Paul Giamatti, but
Yeah, I love Paul and all those too, but Leo not getting a nomination, that doesn't make any sense.
Look, I hate that Leo won an Oscar award for The Revenant, when I think that was like his weakest performance, when he's been nominated for so many better other things.
It was definitely one of those that's like, oh shit, he should have gotten one by now. We have to, and like he still Revenant is like a good performance, but when you look at his career, it's like it's not his best. You're right, but it's definitely the time the Academy went, shit, maybe it's about time.
Best.
We already have them saying Oscar's so white. We really need to get on this Leo train.
My next one is last one. I think Jennifer's Body is one of the most underrated movies of all time, and I think if it was made today, it would do much better and have way bigger acclaim because it's a really good sarcastic horror.
Yeah.
Never seen it.
Oh, you should check it out.
I've heard pretty good things about it, but I feel like whenever it came out, I was like, oh, yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, it was a lot of mixed stuff. I probably would need to rewatch it. There's also an extended cut, I believe. So yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
All right, I'll do mine. Mine's similar in that I'm keeping it. I'm sure I have plenty of hot takes, but I think my kind of hottest one that keeps coming up, just because this director is currently relatively popular, has made 3 movies with a prestigious studio of A24, and I think he's got to be the most pretentious hack imaginable. I'll just say hack. But I think Ari Aster is a terrible director and that his movies aren't good.
Actually, I was expecting another name to come out of your mouth right there, but...
Who's that?
No, Ari Aster. Ari Aster. Hereditary is awful.
Oh, wow.
Hereditary is bad. Midsummer's bad. Beau is Afraid, I think, was the most interesting one, but also just not anything special. I think a lot of the stuff that people latch onto, Spence kind of said this about Fight Club earlier, is like the film bro stuff of like, it's so deep, man, oh my god, the substances, and it's like, no, it's like fake deep. These characters aren't characters. They're not real people. Like, it's... Midsummer is full of people just being like, wow, we just watched them murder these old people. But, like, you know, it's fine. Like, that's just a culture or whatever, bro. It's like, no. Nobody, no person who just wandered in and saw that would just sit there and go, okay then, cool. We're fine with this. Or, like, all the weird... Man, so in Hereditary... My story to Hereditary is I was hearing it was really good, so I went out to see it in theaters, and I brought my brother and some other people with me to go see it because they like horror movies. I was like, I'm hearing really good things about it. I watched that movie, and maybe, I don't know, at whatever point that the stuff with the sister happens, and she eats the candy bar that's got peanuts in it and whatnot, and then the car crash and everything happens, everybody's dead silent in the theater, I bust out laughing. That scene, to me, is not tense, it's not interesting, it's hilariously dumb. And then the rest of the movie happens, and the rest of the movie is just more of the same, of, like, over-exaggerated faces of people screaming and silly stuff happening. So, to me, he's just, like, look, I'm gonna watch his next movie. I go and see everything. I'm giving this guy money, but he's not yet once impressed me or created like elevated horror. I hate that term because it's a pretentious term for these pretentious movies that don't really do anything.
Now, I did not see Midsummer, and I haven't seen Beau is Afraid. I really want to see that one. I like Hereditary, but I do agree. I do think it is overrated. I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's like the masterpiece that a lot claim it to be. I also think part of that is because I think what makes that film so impactful is the mystery and not knowing what is happening as you like. I think that's a film that like it's like really entertaining and good on the first watch, but then like once you kind of know, you're just kind of like, okay.
See, I've also come to terms that I think I just hate children in movies. Like The Babadook, similar one. Everybody loves that movie.
Oh
that movie drives me insane because that child does nothing but scream the entire movie. And I just can't. I can't. I'm sure it is, and that's just... That might just be it, is just the screaming children. I just can't do it.
That's fair. I've heard very similar... complaints about Babadook, but yeah, I
oh yeah, Maggie did say she booed me from upstairs about my Midsummer take. She really enjoys that movie, and I don't. I've watched that movie I think 3 times now, and I wish I could take it all back.
Now, have you seen? I know I haven't seen it, but I know there's an extended cut. Have you seen that? And like, is there actually a difference? Like, does
I
it
don't
change the film?
think that I have. It's on the shelf back here. A friend of mine who did take part in our award show, Sugi, he likes to find out when you hate things and then mail you those things. So he sent me both Midsummer and Hereditary and some other movies and other random knickknacks just out of the blue. Yeah. So I have not watched an extended cut that I'm aware of. I don't think that I would want to, but
Interesting. Okay.
Right. Expect Phantom Menace in the mail, buddy.
Oh god. All right. So I guess I will give you two of what was probably two of my hottest takes. I alluded to one of them earlier, and that is I genuinely think Matrix Resurrections is the smartest of the Matrix films. I think it's the smartest written sci-fi film of 2021. It's basically Lana giving a gigantic middle finger to internet culture and like the Hollywood system. And like it like yes, it follows the same structure of the first film, but that's like 100% purposeful, and it's like this whole like topic about like how audiences and our culture is obsessed with nostalgia and how we want the same thing over and over and over again, and that's why the studio is putting out the same movie over and over again. I think it has a lot to say about the way we look at things versus feelings versus fact. I think that bringing that into the argument of the film and how the Matrix works was a really great like kind of discussion about like, especially in the past like 10 years, how our culture has become very much focused on like how that makes me feel instead of like what are the facts in the situation. And like what does that mean to like our true meaning of like freedom and stuff. I think it is a very mean satirical like middle finger. I think that's like awesome. The whole scene where they go in and they're literally like talking about what the Matrix means to them, and it's like it's literally just Lana being like, every single one of you fuckers missed the point of these movies. Because they're all just like, oh yeah, it's about the action, it's about the leather, it's about this. And it's like, no, it's about what, like, are you truly free? And especially in this society where now we are dealing with, like, the feelings of something versus the fact of something, it throws another wrench into, like, how we actually view freedom. And I think that it, like, I really think that movie is very, very smart, and it has a ton of things that it's talking about. So that's my number. That's my first of the very hot takes. I think it's a very smart satire. My second is that I think that from a writing standpoint, The Last Jedi is, aside from the original 3 Star Wars films, The Last Jedi is the best made Star Wars film. And that is because of Rian Johnson's thematic writing. And there are many things happening in that film, but the thing I'll touch on now is that every single character has an arc that has to do with their ego. Poe thinks that winning is all about, like, winning the big battles, but he's not paying attention to the lives he's sacrificing and the lives that he needs to save. It's all about him being the hero. Finn is similarly thinking everything is black and white with, like, the Resistance and the Empire, and he learns that things are a lot grayer than he thought. Thus, meaning he is not just the one-sided hero that he always thought he, like, was turning into. You have Rey dealing with the ego of, like, oh, since I've been given this responsibility, that must mean that, like, I'm special. No, you're a nobody. And that's okay, because just because you're a nobody doesn't mean you can't help. And even Luke is dealing with his own ego of, like, he was the chosen one, and he fucked up. But, like, how do you reconcile with that? And so I think there's a lot in that film that, like, had to be said about Star Wars. I think, unfortunately, everyone latches on to a few moments of clunky editing, and they use that as, like, the argument. People always use the argument of, like, Luke just, like, went after Kylo when we are literally given a Rashomon-type sequence that visually shows us what Obi-Wan Kenobi means when he says, from a certain point of view. And that is, every time the story is told from someone else's point of view, it's different. So where does the truth lie? I think there's a lot going on in that movie, I think it's very, very smartly written.
I've said this many times to people because I am pretty high on The Last Jedi. I don't think it's maybe my second or third favorite Star Wars film, and that's because of one thing: the stuff that it gets right is some of the best Star Wars ever. Period. The stuff it gets wrong is also some of the worst Star Wars ever. Everything on Canto Bight is fucking awful. Outside of the very ending with the little kid who's just sweeping and then he can use the Force. That is a brilliant way to be like, remember, back in the day before we knew who Luke was related to and all this stuff, he was just a nobody from a desert planet who could all of a sudden do this stuff. And we've been told time and time again through all of these movies, the Force is everywhere. It's in everything. Anybody could theoretically do this stuff, and it was great to see that. But yeah, the Canto Bight stuff is pretty awful. And then there's some of the side characters are just terrible things. But it is some of the best Star Wars, period. So I'm with that one. I think that is a top
Hell yeah.
3 or 2 Star Wars movies.
Sure, thanks.
That's right, Spence. You hear that, Josh?
I will say Last Jedi is my favorite of the sequels, for sure.
Sure, but I mean, it just
Sure.
I just don't understand like.
Phantom Menace is only good once they get to the hangar and Duel of Fates starts.
Pod racing.
It's
Pod racing.
Yeah, okay, pod racing's not pretty good.
if anyone wants to see my views on Phantom Menace, please go to theholygoofs.com, find the Phantom Menace review, and also on the YouTube website. We
Also
have the
the-
Brett Flicks video review.
Also, please don't sleep on Revenge of the Sith. I don't
No,
understand.
Revenge of the Sith is very good.
I don't.
It's the best of the
understand.
prequels. It's the best of the prequels.
It's better than anything that they just did with this the sequel stuff. Man. I'm sorry. I don't know.
There's a unit to talk about. You guys know that, right? Because we'll bogart the next 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay. Let's end it.
Look, Star Wars is toxic, okay? Just move on.
It is. It is.
Although it's crazy to say that the prequels are the best trilogy. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's just insane.
I can't buy it. It makes me feel more than any
Yeah, it's pure nostalgia.
Well, let me ask this question because this might like shed a lot of light on this. Had you seen Star Wars before seeing episodes 1, 2, and 3? Because I'm assuming, like me, you would have seen those in theaters as they came out. But did you have a relationship to Star Wars before that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially the first one.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I had the
In the
special
second
edition
one. In the
VHS
second one.
trilogy.
Yeah.
Then I don't understand your
But-
point of view.
But I think that it was those were my prime. I'm gonna say this and I won't talk about Star Wars anymore. But
We're cutting ourselves off here.
the prequels were like my prime. Like I was at the right age to really take something and like resonate with it.
Look, I get that. That's where I fell in love with Natalie Portman, and it goes to this day.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. The early ones, my dad or uncle showed me the first 3 when I was younger, right? And then I obviously went back and watched them after seeing, the Phantom
Yeah.
Menace. But they just stick with me. They just stick with me.
But that is something to remember, is like, it's literally each generation has their own new introduction to Star Wars. And like, our parents had the original trilogy, we had the prequels, now a new generation has the sequel trilogy, and now they're going beyond that. The next generation is going to have its own stuff with Mandalorian and stuff like that. Like, and as much as we all argue about Star Wars because we all fucking love it.
That's right.
All right,
Yeah.
but it's also important to remember that it isn't always made for 30-year-old men. It is made for the younger generation to enjoy Star Wars and space opera action goodness, you know? And that's why we loved it when we were kids. And so, that's also why we keep returning to it. Even though there are definitely aspects of Star Wars that I fucking hate, midichlorians, you son of a bitch. And but there's also things that I absolutely adore, and there are feelings that you can never take away from that,
Absolutely.
You gotta cut us off on Star Wars.
Okay, no more Star Wars. No more Star Wars. We'll make this quick. Just a few other things to kind of touch on that we brought up. What is the one movie that you would show to somebody, like to introduce them to it, or the one movie that maybe you'd show somebody to give them an idea of like who you are as a person, or like this is the type of stuff that you're into? Maggie just texted me the movie Lake Mungo, which is a found footage horror movie about man, I don't know. She made me watch it and I didn't like it. She really gets on to me about really showing me movies she loves and then I don't like the movie.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta pretend.
Yeah.
Look, I can't. I'm sorry, but Moulin Rouge is terrible, so.
Spence, you love Moulin Rouge.
I like Moulin Rouge. I like that. I think that's his only movie I like. It's like that director.
Oh, you know what? Real quick, just you released a TikTok or a short the other day about actors who are not in any bad movies. First off, I don't even know how you came up with choices for this. I would go insane trying to find somebody who I'm like, this person's not in a bad movie. But Leonardo DiCaprio, I'm sorry, but The Great Gatsby, bad movie.
Oh.
Look, The Great Gatsby is a terrible book to start with, but that movie just, nope.
That's not the one I thought you were going to say, because there are other examples of Leo in bad movies.
Look, Critters 3, fantastic, okay? Critters 3, fantastic.
This is just your personality. This is just your personality.
Great Gatsby, no.
Okay.
You know what? I would say that might be like his weakest for me. I like Great Gatsby well enough, but I did feel like it was it's just the
style
of it,
over
I was like,
substance.
Yeah, it's a
Baz Luhrmann is
it's a
always
story about
that.
nothing. It's a story about nothing to begin with.
yeah, it is. Yep.
It really is. And
Yeah.
I would say that Toby is obviously the central focus. I mean, Gatsby's the guy, but like,
Yeah.
you're asking more from Tobey Maguire in that movie than you are the Gatsby. This figure.
Maggie just off-screen mouthed to me, your opinions are trash and you're trash.
That's love right there. That's love.
Yeah.
All right. Right.
All right, what are the movies you'd introduce somebody to? Like, what is the go-to movie that you'd want to show somebody?
So, for me, I mean, there's like a couple, and it's like, well, like Godzilla is a huge part of me. So, like, kind of, you could pick any of them, really. Like, there are different reasons why I love different Godzilla movies and stuff. I'm just huge into the big, like, you know, giant monster genre in general. I also Aliens is one of my favorite films ever made. I think it's one of the greatest sequels ever made. It is like the shining example of what a sequel should be, where it takes everything that you love about the first one and then amps it up while also keeping it like to an emotional core with Newt and stuff, like, and then going further than what you wanted or what you expected the movie to give you. But I would say, in terms of my own personality, the film that like summarizes myself and like who I am the most would be Evil Dead 2. It's like, again, another perfect sequel, but it also, like, it really, I am all about excess, and I'm all about, like, the wild and wacky stuff. So, like, being able to balance the ultra violence with, like, this absolute Three Stooges buffoonery in that film, like, it's genius. And Sam Raimi is, like, the director that I latched onto the most that made me want to be a director, is because of his energy and the way that you can tell in every single one of his movies, he's a kid that just loves the fact that he is making movies. And that energy is, like, imbued into everything he does, and especially his horror stuff. All of his movies have a very unique tone and style to them, and I adore it. Evil Dead 2 is the epitome of that, and it's like, it's one of my all-time favorite films.
I had a hard time with this one because I was like, damn, what do I show? I thought immediately, and you're gonna hate this, Grim, but I thought of in recent years, Everything Everywhere. I became such a disciple for it. And it's so self-centered, but like the Ki Hugh Kwan speech about being kind and that's the way he fights hit me on such a core level. It reminded me of my dad and everything. And just for that, like, that to me is the emotional climax of that movie.
Great.
And just for that, I just kept watching it and I cried every time I saw it, and I kept showing it to people, and I was like, right? And then when people were like less enthusiastic, I was like, no. So I would say Everything Everywhere, but I tried to go a little deeper because obviously that's so recent. I thought of Lord of the Rings, of course, but I think really what lands for me, and I almost brought this up during the childhood one, but I wanted to save it for this, but that's Princess Bride. I feel like is just it's a perfect movie, and it's just such a good blend of all the things I love. I mean, it's a fantasy, there's drama, there's romance, but at the end of the day, it's just silly, and it's just having a good time. And even in its most serious moments, it still cracks a joke. It also has this like meta element to it, like when you read Princess Bride, it's a story about somebody who wrote the story, and it's just like super meta, and that blew my mind as a kid reading it. I was like, wait, what? You could do that? So yeah, I think Princess Bride, it kind of walks that line of like, take me seriously, but don't take anything too seriously. You know what I mean?
It's impeccably written. Like, Goldman,
it's perfect. And there's so many iconic little things throughout for you to latch onto. The Rodents of Unusual Size, the Six-Fingered Man, there's, the poison thing. There's all these, like, iconic things built into it that just, like, they feel allegorical, but also at the same time, it's just, like, a funny little plot device. And it just has such, like, a dear place in my heart. I love it. So, yeah, I think that's my one to show people. Like,
that's an excellent
movie.
Get
this and love it. Will be cool.
Amazing movie, yeah. Great choice.
All right, Spence, what do you got?
Thought long and hard about this, and High School Musical. Now, what you don't understand about High School Musical, no, I'm just kidding. That's not it.
Oh, I was ready for it to be. I was ready to get sold. I've never seen a High School Musical. Sell it to me.
Here we go.
Sell me on it.
Here's the sales pitch.
No. This one's like you said, Josh. This one's tough. There's a lot of like. I thought Harry Potter, but I probably would tell someone to read the books before they watch the movies. I think they're much better and there's more detail in them. But those changed my life, so I wouldn't be hesitant to say watch them, but read the books first. Things like Garden State, Across the Universe, Perks of Being a Wallflower come to mind. Great music and great stories. But the two that I really thought of, He Got Game. Random, but like I really love that movie. If you love basketball and you just love, I guess, the story of family and perseverance, He Got Game is great. Spike Lee, Denzel. But I think the number one is Holes. I would show someone Holes. I don't have anything deep about why I would show someone Holes, but I think it reminds me of simpler times, and it's just a fun movie just to watch and remember. Everything is, I guess, not so complex. It's weird to say, but it's Holes. That's it. That's Holes.
I do. I've never seen Across the Universe, but I put it on a list for things to watch. When you mentioned it, I think Rob Z asked you guys like your favorite movie or something, and you rattled off a few, and that was one of them you said, and I was like, I know that movie, I've never seen it. Maggie thinks I'll hate it. for some reason, I don't know why. She just thinks I won't like it.
How do you feel about the Beatles?
Oh, I love the Beatles.
Oh, you might like it then.
That's.
But my problem is I'm too much of a purist. I actually the reason I don't like that movie as much is I think some of the covers are fantastic, and then there are other covers I'm like, you just fucking ruined it.
Some of the covers, and I say this as a diehard Beatles fan, some of the covers I prefer to the originals. There are some of the covers in there that are like While My Guitar, crazy.
Yeah, While My
So
Guitar
good.
Gently Weeps.
Yeah.
It's on my list to watch. You know, I've got hundreds of movies to still watch this year, so at some point I'll get to it.
Yeah, Spence and I just obsessively watch that every night in college. Like that's the night. We'd watch It's Always Sunny, a few episodes, and then to round out the night we put on Across the Universe. Like we watched it so much.
Makes me happy.
In college, I got obsessed with the Ocean's trilogy and put those on a loop. Yeah. My parents got they were just like, I remember one year for Christmas I got the trilogy, and it's all I watched over and over and over again. And my parents were like, "Are you sick of these movies?"
No,
like Soderbergh.
Maggie wants me to ask, and then I'll say my movie after this. But have any of you seen The Beach?
With Leo.
With
I think so.
No, I haven't.
because shameless plug. That's our movie of the month that she selected when we spin our wheel. So we're watching that sometime this month. I've also never seen it, but so
Interesting. Ooh, I'll watch it alongside you guys because I never saw it.
I don't know. She just wanted very, very clever plug. Monthly movie club. Join. We do the movie every month.
That's the one that people are saying about the Leo choice that we had in that clip.
At the beach.
That's the one he's in. That's bad.
Interesting.
It'll be interesting to see. I don't know anything about it other than it exists.
Isn't that a Fincher movie?
I have no idea.
That was done by like a prolific director, and it's like one of their most forgotten.
Danny Boyle.
Oh,
Danny Boyle, yeah. It's a Danny Boyle movie.
I mean, he rocks.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
Well, Ridley Scott rocks, but he also made what was it? The
Napoleon.
What? Which one? Sorry?
Napoleon.
Oh, Napoleon. I was gonna say The Counselor.
Oh, I never saw it.
Yeah, Ridley Scott's an interesting guy, especially recently, where he's just has stopped giving a shit and is really lashed out at people. Like, fucking go outside. Who cares if it's historically accurate?
Yeah, I love how.
Like, okay.
I know, it's so funny.
All right, go
off.
off.
I mean, the dude has made over 100 movies.
Yeah.
And like half of them are in the Library of Congress, and half of them are garbage. Like, he's either like it's either a masterpiece or it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
See how Gladiator 2 pans out.
Oh my God, no, please.
Well, actually, that's a good segue, because I, too, even though I originally came up with the idea for this question of, like, what's a movie that I would introduce somebody to, or what's something that kind of, like, resonates with me? Speaking of Gladiator 2, Paul Mescal, my more recent film would probably be After Sun. That movie is so... I've watched it maybe 3 or 4 times at this point, and every single time I'm like ready to just weep by the end of that movie. It's beautifully heartbreaking. It's fantastic. But I think the one movie that I will always go back to, and anytime if somebody's like, "Oh, I've never seen that," I'm like, "You have to see it. It's my favorite comedy of all time. I don't think this will ever change," and that is. And it's got some really big actors in it, and that's Some Like It Hot. Some Like It Hot is one of the best movies ever made. Marilyn Monroe, Jack Lemmon, Tony Curtis. It is just, it's amazing. And I'm also always blown away with watching old movies. And recently I've been doing a lot of movies from like the 1920s and even before that, where just the ingenuity and the creativity and how they manage to do a lot of this stuff, or even themes that are in it. With Some Like It Hot, it's about guys who are cross-dressing to escape gangsters in this all-female band, which is like in 1960, whenever it came, it's like that's not something I would imagine that people would be making movies about then. Or some of the stuff that they come up with, or the creativity to it. It's super classic. There's a lot. It's literally perfect. It is a perfect movie, and it's got one of the greatest endings of all time.
I was actually just gonna say that. It's so perfect. That is it's an incredibly well made film. It's super funny. Everyone gives great performances. You catch like it established like types of humor and setups to jokes that we now like use frequently and stuff. Like it's a great classic comedy. There's some awesome stuff. If you're going through older stuff from like the 20s and everything, I would highly recommend checking out everything you can from Harold Lloyd.
Oh, I've watched about 20 of his movies. Give or take.
One of the greatest physical comedians ever, and he did all of it for real. The dude had his thumb and pointer finger blown off by a firecracker, so in his movies it's like a fake like thing that he put on. This guy's climbing like 10-story buildings with no harness, with like half a hand and stuff, doing all these insane stunts. And like a lot of the time you're watching it through like a modern like lens, So you're not actually thinking that it's real. You're just watching it, and you're like, oh, yeah, it's probably like a green screen or whatever. And then you see that time period's equivalent of like a background plate, and it's so obvious it's a background plate. You're like, oh shit, no, all that stuff I just saw was real.
Yep.
Like, it was real.
Yeah, that
And he
shot
does
in
some
Safety
stunts with
Last is
cars
crazy.
and trains. Like, yes, Safety Last, absolutely. It's
Because
so
it
dangerous.
does look like that, like you said, mindset of modern times to be like, yeah, that's totally fake. That's not a real street below him. But then you listen to him ever talk about it, and he's like, oh yeah, we didn't tell anybody we were going to do this. There's like nets and stuff under me that you can't see that are just off the screen. But the street going up and how busy it is and all the people, yeah, that was just, noon on a Tuesday or whatever.
Crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah, I gotta
Really
see some like
good
I think
ingenuity.
you nominated that recently, right, Grim? When we were doing 60s.
Oh yeah, probably. I'll always say Some Like It Hot. Anytime,
I gotta watch
everywhere. It's fantastic.
And I think
everybody
I
in it's
suggested
great.
Safety Last at one point.
You suggested Speedy, I think.
Oh no, yeah, that's another great one.
That one I haven't watched yet, but I was going through a lot of Lloyd and Chaplin's shorts after I got off my watching everything that George Malays, or however you say his name, did. Those things blew my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The Amelia, I have one of his collections around here somewhere. Oh, it's down where I can't reach it. But yeah, I got the Méliès collection of like when he did his trip to the moon, but then he also did like his little thing on Atlantis. There's a short about like going to hell. There's one about a magician and like a wizard. Like, he has a bunch of really great stuff. Just the birthplace of special effects.
Yeah, he's also like the first person ever to make a remake of a movie that it was technically a short, but the Lumiere brothers did a short of playing cards, and the very same year, a few months later, Malays did his own exact same thing, but had some extra characters in it, and it's hilarious that remakes and sequels are not new, because at the birth of movies there was already one.
Right. Yep.
Wow.
They were already just ripping each other off. And also, there's a lot of those train pulling into station films. Loads of those.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I don't know why they were so obsessed with trains pulling into a station, but they sure made a lot of them.
Or people leaving work from a warehouse.
For our closing screen on Twitch, I actually found just a very old-timey shot of people coming out of a movie theater. And it's just people leaving a theater in black and white. It's from, like, New York in, like, 1902 or some shit. And I'm like,
Nice.
perfect.
That's good.
Okay, last thing, I think, and then we can wrap it up real quick, just because since, we always have this backdrop here, which is all of, it's like just shy of 800 Blu-rays, mostly, because I have not counted a lot of my just standard DVD collection. Physical versus digital media, have to bring it up just because Brett decided to show up and really show out with that monstrous collection behind him.
This is half.
Jesus.
This is half.
We have a friend who also streams called J-Rad. He did our Nicolas Cage presentation during the award show.
Yeah.
If you saw his room that he does all of his streaming and stuff in, it is every single wall, and it's not just movies, but every single wall is covered in movies, collectibles, video games. There are desks in the middle that are kind of like islands or whatever that are covered with statues of things. His collection is absolutely insane. Insane. He could be a millionaire had he saved all that money.
That's the argument my mom always makes.
How much money did you have? Yeah.
Look, at some point that's true. At some point that just becomes true. Depending on what exactly
We've
you're buying.
accepted it. We've accepted it at that point.
Yeah, those two shelves of Criterions have cost me a couple $1,000 probably.
Oh yeah, they are not cheap. I always wait for the 50% off sales.
Yep.
There's probably a car's worth of comic books behind me. Probably. And I do track the values and see them go down. And I'm like, fuck. But I'm never gonna sell them anyway. Just having to look at them.
Yeah. So
I think my answer to that question is fairly obvious. I'm all about the physical media to the point where I even have a guy that makes, puts things that are only on streaming onto disc for me, because there will be times when like my internet goes out or whatever, or like I have internet but maybe something's happening and it's streaming in really shitty quality. I can always get 1080p with a Blu-ray. I can always get 4K. It's like, and also just even when you stream something in 1080p, it isn't always in true 1080p, and just like every time it's always better. There have been times when I've had to replace a disc or something because it gets scratched or whatever, but that just comes with the territory, so that's okay with me. And especially after what happened recently with Sony and stuff, where like they basically, after they lost their deal with Discovery, all of like everyone's digital purchases of the Discovery like channels or whatever shows they were watching got erased, even though they technically bought it. Like, you don't own something when it's digitally. Even if you think you do, it can always be removed. These can't, except by like a fire, in my own home. So yeah,
I think that's my big, because I love the accessibility of digital and streaming. You know what I mean? I get to watch a lot more stuff than I used to be able to because of it. But yeah, and I don't collect any physical media really when it comes to movies or TV shows. I used to a lot, then moved around so much I had a hard time maintaining a collection, and now I don't at all. But the thing that I like the accessibility, right? Like something can come out and I can get it right away. I don't have to go somewhere. I don't have to buy a thing. But there is like the sense of ownership that you lose, and I think that's kind of the gap that Letterboxd is filling in a little bit, of being able to kind of like track and library, like this is what I saw, this is what I like, which is what I'm missing by not collecting physical media anymore. Like Brett, what you said about sometimes it's not just that like, oh, maybe sometimes the internet's down. It's like you get to consult your own library of stuff you've curated and go like, damn, I like all these things, that's why I bought them. So I have a good chance of finding something I like and being able to like revisit a classic. Whereas like my viewership experience, a lot of time I'll watch something, really enjoy it, and then it's forgotten because I never purchased anything. It was there and it was gone. It's the same with music, streaming music. It's much harder to latch on to something because you enjoy it and then it's gone. And unless you're like tracking it somewhere, like how are you going to remember like, oh yeah, I really love that. And then of course there's all, like, I'm looking behind you, Brett, and I see like the cool Evil Dead, Book of the Dead box sets and everything. Like there's so much cool stuff that comes with physical media that makes it win. Yeah. So
there definitely is something to like physically holding it in your hand, being like, yes, no, I actually do own this.
Yeah. Also, just unwrapping it, opening it, and going.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Like, purchase your favorite movies because capitalism isn't your friend. I say that because you're not guaranteed to own any of the stuff you buy. You don't own it anyway, but like it could not be there when you wake up tomorrow. Like they could do some change where, now we're shifting everything here. This person bought this company, and now they're not offering this. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. I haven't done it in a while, but I do have a collection of my favorites. When I do watch a movie, that's Kerm, you mentioned earlier, that's kind of like how I know it's like a 10 out of 10. When I watch it and I go, I need to buy that movie. For instance, on Friday I saw Manchester by the Sea for the first time.
Oh, you did?
Probably my favorite movie. Like it's like top 5 already. Like
it's so good, right?
It's so good, and I want to buy it. So like I would buy that movie like on Amazon tomorrow. I have it physically because I know I'm gonna want to go back to it.
Unfortunately, Amazon is basically the only real place you have to go buy movies now.
Right? Yeah,
because
like
a lot of places are not doing it.
Completely gotten rid of all their physical stuff. Walmart is like one of the last places. Walmart and Target.
Target is supposed to be getting rid of their. Yeah, you're gonna have like more boutique kind of places like FYE, or down here we have Movie Trading Company, which are all essentially just pawn shops because they charge exponentially more to get any of that stuff. But they'll also likely have a lot of random things. Like I've got a handful of James Stewart box sets because they just happen to have them, or like this Best Picture box set up here with like 20 random Best Picture movies in it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, just own it. I mean, yeah, like you guys said, it's just something about having it feels special. But it's
Yeah.
how I feel about books. You just have
Yeah.
them.
It's
Think-
what I do with comic books. I mean, most of the time I'll buy an issue, and like I'm a weird collector, and I don't want to ruin the value at all. So like if it's not like a beater copy that I found at like a flea market, I'll read it digitally, but I'm still getting the physical. Like I want the physical media.
Yes.
I want to have it, you know. And it is for the smell. You know what I mean? Like I know you said it was a joke, but it is. Like I like to fucking smell them. I like to know that they're there. They're actually real. I can thumb through them if I want to,
And the
even
cool
if I'm
thing,
gonna read them
the
digitally.
art,
Yep.
the design,
Yeah.
cool things they do. They put
Yep.
a lot of work into how they want to, showcase the art.
Oh yeah.
It's special. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have multiple copies of Lord of the Rings because I have one copy that is all 3 books in this gigantic hardback, like gorgeous, like embroidered, like it's like a Bible. It's like huge, it's thick. You open it, it's got fold out maps and like all this other stuff, and like, it's massive. But trying to read that thing in bed is impossible because I'm like literally like if I lose strength in my arm, it's gonna crush my face,
You'll kill yourself,
kind of thing.
yeah.
So I buy the cheapo paperback 3 off of Amazon. That's like $10, a piece, or $8 a piece. Those are the ones that I'm reading. But then I have this as like this gorgeous like set piece, and it's like this is like the ultimate edition. But these are the ones I read because I'm gonna flip through it. I'm gonna get grease on the like the pages or whatever, just oils. Like now the back's gonna be, you're gonna see creases in the back and the spine, like because I read it. It looks used now. This one's always going to be like gorgeous.
Yeah, that's the thing with capitalism again, because I'm sure they do the same thing with like DVDs. I don't know if they still do it, but like there's the collections editions, and the collector's editions, and all the different covers you can have. That's why I have like 10 different versions of Harry Potter books, because they're like next year there'll be another art cover on there, and you're like, oh god, I gotta have that one, right? So there's something to it.
Yep. I have every copy of Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness that they put out.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
Like, yeah.
I think my biggest takeaway from this was 1, Spence likes to support a millionaire, and 2, down with capitalism.
J.K. Rowling,
Gotcha.
I just
Got him.
down with capitalism, but we all have our weaknesses, okay? We all have our weaknesses.
Look, I've said this many, many times, and we don't have to get into a discussion about it, but I'm very strongly separate the art from the artist.
Correct. Sometimes it can be very hard to do that, unfortunately, but yes, I do also follow along that principle.
Yeah,
Mainly.
it can be really hard, but you're going to have to pry like Seven and Baby Driver and A Bug's Life out of my cold dead hands before you tell me Kevin
Usual
Spacey needs to
Suspect,
go away
like,
forever.
Yeah. Sucks that he's a piece of shit, but my god, is he a good actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf, I'm looking at you.
God damn you, son of a bitch.
That was gonna be my hot take, but I didn't even want to give his name in there.
No, because you know what's funny?
I was gonna
Movies
say
to show
he could be
people.
one of the best actors of our generation.
When I got the prompt of like movies to show people, Peanut Butter Falcon did come to mind. I'm like, oh, I don't want to.
I mean, also, to be fair, Spence did say holes, so...
That's true, you did.
He did say
So,
Hulk.
got him. Shia is still on top, baby.
Good butt shot. He still made it. Damn it. Yeah. Sorry.
No, I mean, I don't care. Yeah, exactly. All right, I think we should just probably wrap it up there. We've been going for a little over 2 hours. It was a lot of fun. Plenty of hot takes in there that I may or may not agree with. The Star Wars prequels I'm going to have to take some time to think about that one.
Yeah, this was amazing. Thanks so much for having us. This was so much fun.
Yeah, this has been fantastic. I had a ton of fun.
Yeah, look, it's just fun to sit down and shoot the shit about things that everybody mutually loves.
Yeah.
Like the prequels.
And also, I don't know, readings for losers, but I'd watch the Harry Potter movies again.
I like those movies. I have the ultimate cuts right up in here, you know, the like big thick editions that they put out with all the bonus features and stuff. Like, I like the movies, but don't like the person that wrote the material that the movies are based on.
Look, Half-Blood Prince sucked, okay? Let's just move on. That movie's bad.
How you doing, Spence?
I don't not agree. I don't not agree.
That's one of the, like...
The book is the best book, though.
That's what I've heard. But that's one of, like, 5 movies that in my brain I can remember ever being like, I should just walk out. This is not good. Oh,
I had that problem with Goblet of Fire, but...
I don't really remember.
I liked Goblet of Fire. Everyone ragged on it, but I always enjoyed that one.
The book, there's just so much that happened in the book.
Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a
my
better
favorite
rendition.
is still, though, Chamber of Secrets is still my favorite. It's my favorite book. It's my favorite movie of the group. I just think it nails like everything that I liked about Harry Potter in that world. And it has a giant ass snake in it. That's badass.
That is badass.
Yeah. Azkaban is probably the strongest movie.
Agreed. All right, ending on a high note. Azkaban wins. The end.
Azkaban
All right,
is good. Good ass director.
Thanks again for thanks for joining us. Even though Maggie left halfway through. Apparently my Dumbledore impression scared Max. Apparently.
Oh.
Whoops. But yeah, thanks for joining us, everybody. You can find the Holy Goofs pretty much everywhere at the Holy Goofs. Twitch on Thursdays, estimated around 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, give or take. And then other days they just stream games and hang out, and sometimes do deep dives into like how America's political system sucks.
Try it out.
Who knows?
Then we're trying it out.
But go follow them everywhere if you haven't. I'm sure a lot of people who are here probably already do. Maybe you've learned something. Maybe you agree with their hot takes or not. But yeah, go support Harry Potter and capitalism.
Right.
Yeah.
Always stay goofing, everybody.
Stay good.
That's right.